Tatsuya is an ugly, neglected, emotionless child who was an experiment rat to his mother. That turned him to be the most overpowered student, making him the irregular at the magic high school, where he collects his harem of absolute baddies like Thanos collects his stones.
In the distant future, magic is reorganized as an approved technological tool taught to elite humans in government-affiliated academies after the end of the 20-year World War II. In 2095, a student named Tatsuya ends up being admitted to the high school magic academy as a reserve despite having the highest score on the written entrance exam, much to the dismay of his sister Miyuki, who was admitted as one of the elite because of her ability to use magic. Miyuki is surprised that he feels satisfied with being lowly despite his martial arts skills and high grades, but he doesn't care and considers himself lucky to have been accepted into the academy as a reservist. Tatsuya told her that there was nothing they could do about it and that they had to accept the fact that she outranked him at the academy and was grateful that she was angry for him. He told her that he looked forward to what she would do as a representative of her class and wanted to see her shine at the top of her game. Miyuki understood his wishes and apologized for her selfish behavior. After she left, Tatsuya wandered around the courtyard for a while until he ran into a girl named Mayumi, who introduced herself as the student union president and told him not to hesitate to ask her for help if he got into trouble. Then a girl named Azusa joined them to tell Mayumi that they had to hurry to the auditorium for the academy's new student reception, and when she felt like she was in the middle of something, Tatsuya decided to leave them and go on his way. At the beginning of the reception, all the students were seated in their assigned seats inside the hall, and Tatsuya found himself sitting in the back rows as a kind of distinction between the students. Then he came across a girl who wanted to sit next to him with her friend and introduced herself as Mizuki, while her friend's name is Erika. After Mayumi finished her speech as student president, class representative Miyuki went to the stage to begin her speech and expressed her gratitude and pride in being in that position and that her wish had been fulfilled by joining the prestigious Magic Academy, which is only for the elite. After the ceremony, Tatsuya and his classmates received their own identification cards, and when Mizuki and Erika suggested that they go check out their class, he told them that he was about to meet his sister. Erika thought they were twins, but he told them that their birthdays happened to be close to each other, and when he wondered how Mizuki realized they were siblings so quickly, she told him that she felt that way because of their aura. Tatsuya realizes that she's not just an ordinary girl who knows how to use magic and is very good at reading other people's auras, and he has to evade her so that she doesn't watch him further and reveal his secret. Miyuki joins them, and when she sees the two girls, she thinks he's going to date one of them. Tatsuya told her that they were just classmates. On the other side, Mayumi watched the new students interact with each other with her assistant, then expressed to Tatsuya that she hoped to have a long talk with him someday and left quietly, much to the surprise of her assistant, who was furious with him. In the evening, Tatsuya was busy working at home when he felt that something was wrong with Miyuki, who was making coffee. She told him that she had received a call from certain people a while ago to congratulate her on joining the academy, and when she asked him and he told her that he had not received anything from them, she felt angry and her icy magic leaked onto the table. Tatsuya approached her and held her hand to tell her to calm down because he chose to go to the academy instead of helping their father take over their company, so he didn't care about any of this and justified his father's anger with him because he was counting on him. The next day, Tatsuya starts practicing martial arts while Miyuki watches him closely and is soon surprised to find Master Yakumo nearby. She tells him that being a ninja is no longer impressive in this day and age, and he tells her that he is a shinobi of the ninjutsu user class. Noticing that she was wearing an academy uniform, she told him that she had come to tell him about her enrollment in the prestigious Magic Academy, while Yakumo was focused on her seductive and lustful outfit and was about to approach her, but Tatsuya stopped him just in time. Tatsuya tells him not to keep bothering his sister, and Yakumo is eager to have a sparring match against him. The two soon begin to clash, and Yakumo realizes that he won't stand a chance against him using taijutsu alone. When Tatsuya continued to attack him, he ended up on the ground after being kicked in the butt by his teacher. Miyuki approached him after training to check on him and told her that he was fine, then apologized for getting her skirt dirty. She used a device that cleaned their clothes together with ice magic in seconds, then suggested that they have breakfast together and offered Yakumo to join them. Afterward, Tatsuya sat in his classroom at the academy and his new friends noticed that he was doing something on his computer. He told them that he was checking the syllabus and registering classes, when one of his classmates interrupted him to marvel at his use of the keyboard for data entry. After telling him that this is the fastest way after he gets used to it, the student introduced himself as Leonhardt and told him that he specializes in fortification magic frequencies, and when he asked him about the magic spells that represent him, Tatsuya told him that he lacks the use of magic, but he wants to become a magic engineer. When Erika interjects after being surprised that he has a specific ambition, Leonhardt initially thinks she's a boy because of her flat chest, which makes him call her a slut. He's furious that she insults him and tells her that she won't get away with it because she has a certain amount of beauty. When they ended up arguing in the middle of the class, the bell rang to end the discussion and announce the start of class. class, and all the students went to their seats before the teacher entered, exchanging glances with Tatsuya as if they already knew each other. Tatsuya then sat down to eat lunch with his classmates, and Mizuki told him that she also aspires to become an engineer in magic. And when Leonhardt asked if he was suitable for such a delicate job, Erika started making fun of him again, causing them to fight over the food. Miyuki joins them for lunch and finds a group of students suggesting she go somewhere else. When she expresses her desire to sit with her friends, someone tells her that she shouldn't have to share a table with a bunch of reservists. Leonhardt was furious at being singled out, while Tatsuya decided to quietly withdraw after finishing his food. At the end of the school day, the two brothers ended up watching a discussion between Tatsuya's classmates and Miyuki's students about their objections to them leaving the house together because they were from different levels. Mizuki objects to the brothers being separated and tells them they have no right to do so. One of the students, Shun, calls them scum and tells her not to interfere in elite affairs. As the argument heats up, Tatsuya realizes that the situation is getting worse. Shun decides to fight Leonhardt to teach the ROTC a lesson. Before he can use his weapon against Leonhardt, who rushes at him, Erika intervenes and forces him to drop his weapon in one fell swoop. Leonhardt grumbled about how she would have smashed his head if he had been a little closer, while Shun and his teammates were furious. As they all started to use their abilities, Honoka told them to stop fighting, and that's when her magical power leaked out against her will. Mayumi intervenes just in time with her magic and tells them that using direct attacks is a crime except in self-defense. Mary, the head of the disciplinary committee, joins her and decides to take them all to the office for interrogation. Tatsuya approached her and told her that it was just a joke that got out of hand. He told her that he had asked Shun to show him his magical abilities for future reference, and when she asked him to explain why Honoka had just used an attack spell, he explained that it was just a light spell with suppressed effectiveness. Mary realizes that he has a high ability to read activation frequencies and is good at making excuses, so he tells her that he is just a reserve-level student who is good at analyzing magical abilities, while Shun, on the other hand, is furious at the fact that he has become indebted to such a lowly student. Miyuki apologizes to Mary and Mayumi for the misunderstanding they caused her class, so Mayumi decides to be content with her apology and convinces Mary of Tatsuya's lie, explaining that the students are not forbidden to teach each other, but using magic requires some restrictions, and asks the students to refrain from any self-education that involves activating magic. Mary had to look the other way after Mayumi was inclined to believe them and gave Tatsuya one last look before she left to keep him in her memory. On the other hand, Shun told him that he didn't owe him anything. When Tatsuya shrugged and told him he didn't owe him anything, Shun introduced himself as a member of the Morisaki family, famous for their superior ability to use magic, and that he was not recognized as a student at the academy, and that his younger sister was supposed to belong to them. After all the students left, Honoka approached him and apologized for inadvertently causing him trouble and thanked him for saving the situation before it got worse, then hesitated before asking him and Miyuki to let her accompany them to the station. They end up escorting their classmates to the station on their way home. Miyuki asks if Tatsuya is the one who maintains her magic-using device, and Miyuki says she'd like her brother to maintain it so she can feel safe using it. Their companions were impressed by Tatsuya's versatility, and when Erika asked him to take a look at her device, he told her that he wasn't confident enough to mess with a device as unique as hers, which made her realize that her own device was the wand she used in the fight with Shun. She then begins to explain how her device works, and when she describes it as similar to the principle of splitting, everyone stares at her in silence. Miyuki then tells her that splitting is classified as a secret or arcane skill, and that it takes more than just magical energy to be able to use it. The next day, the brothers ran into Mayumi on their way to the academy, and she asked them to join her for an afternoon meeting because she wanted to discuss some things with Miyuki. Hours later, they went to the conference room and found everyone waiting for them. Mayumi introduces the treasurer and tells them that her name is Suzune, and before they all start eating lunch together, Miyuki realizes that Mary is the one who made the food today. Tatsuya tells Mary that she's obviously not a regular cook by looking at her bandaged hand, which makes her feel a little embarrassed, and Miyuki suggests that they make lunch boxes starting tomorrow. Suzune felt that they looked more like lovers than siblings, and Tatsuya confessed that he would have wished Miyuki to be his girlfriend if they weren't related by blood, then explained that it was just a little joke. Mayumi told them that members of the student union are appointed or dismissed at her discretion, and then offered Miyuki to join them as a member of the student union as a class representative. When she looked at her brother, he nodded in agreement, but was surprised when she suggested including him if she was looking for talented individuals. He couldn't stop her, but Suzune told her that unfortunately he couldn't be included in the student council as the members are selected from the elite level only. Miyuki had no choice but to comply with her brother's request and accept her position as a member of the student council, vowing to do her best. Tatsuya was surprised when Mary suggested that Tatsuya join the disciplinary board since it was not against the rules and there was a vacancy after a student graduated. Mayumi was excited about the idea and decided to let him run run, while Tatsuya was confused and expressed his desire to give his opinion on the matter, as he did not know the role of the disciplinary committee in detail within the academy. Mayumi tells him that the committee's role is to maintain order within the academy. Azusa tells him that it is their duty to detect students who break the rules regarding the use of magic. He tells them that he is just a reserve student due to his pathetic results in the practical exam and will have difficulty when it comes to stopping a fight using magic. Mary told him that she would help him if he needed to use force to enforce the rules and asked if they could have a private conversation after class. Afterward, his classmates were surprised to learn that he had joined the disciplinary committee and considered it hard work on top of his studies. When it was Tatsuya's turn for the practical training, he was frustrated by the slow flow of his magic through the device and wondered if that was the best he could do. In the evening, he decides to decline the student council's offer, believing that he doesn't belong at that level of wizardry under any circumstances. When they head to the student council, they find everyone waiting for them, including Vice President Hanzo, who completely ignores Tatsuya and goes to greet his sister. Mary then told him that they should go to the disciplinary committee to make it easier for him to learn the committee's duties through live observation. Before they started to leave, Hanzo expressed his objection to having a first-year reserve student on the disciplinary committee and that his appointment was tantamount to creating a feud with a third of the students at the academy. When she called him a second-rate student, she scolded him and told him that it was forbidden to discriminate between students on the board, and that Tatsuya's sharp intellect and insight to read magic activation sequences before they could be used would be useful for the disciplinary committee's work. Hanzo was surprised that he had this skill and thought it was impossible for him to be able to read more than 30,000 characters in an instant with his limited level. Mary told him that this is why his skill is important, because it is counterintuitive, and she wants to include him to reduce the gap between the elite and reserve students within the academy and not to deliberately discriminate between them. Hanzo persisted in his objection and told Mayumi that he still refused to hire him because of his lack of strength in the use of magic. Miyuki intervened to defend her brother and told him that he would not lose against anyone in a real battle and that the practical test alone is not enough to judge his level. Hanzo advised her not to get carried away with her emotions and make judgments based on their kinship. Tatsuya approached him and challenged him to a mock fight, which made him angry and told him not to get cocky. Tatsuya says that he just wants to prove his sister's judgment is correct, not that he wants to join the disciplinary committee, so Hanzo agrees to fight against him to teach him a lesson in front of everyone. Miyuki apologizes and blames herself for causing him trouble again, patting her on the head and telling her again that he's glad she's angry for him since he doesn't get angry when others insult him. After that, he headed to the training ground, and as he prepared for the fight against Hanzo, Miri was surprised that he had multiple weapons. He told her that he was trying to make up for his lack of magic, and after she explained the rules, Hanzo prepared for the fight, thinking that there was no way he could lose to a second-level villain and felt that he had already won before the fight started. Then he started planning how to use his abilities and how the fight would go and how he could win effortlessly. But when the fight started, he was shocked by his invisible speed and ended up being knocked down by a single surprise attack from Tatsuya to the amazement of everyone, and Mary declared him the winner of the fight. After the fight, Mary asks Tatsuya if he used a spell to increase his speed, and Tatsuya replies that it's not about magic, but rather using his physical abilities to speed up, and Miyuki tells them that he's practicing ninjutsu. Tatsuya then added that he only used waves of magical energy to activate his physical technique, and while Mayumi wondered that such a simple thing was enough to make Hanzo unconscious, Tatsuya told her that he was distracted, and as a result his body couldn't absorb the large amount of damage he had taken and began hallucinating, thinking that his body was being shaken. Suzune realized that his attack consisted of creating 3 consecutive waves of magical frequencies and combining them to approach the place where Hanzo was standing so that he would take all the damage at once, and wondered why he had such a low score on the practical test despite his martial skill. Meanwhile, Azusa was surprised by the fact that his magic device was Silverhorn, named after the mysterious genius magic engineer who specialized in 4-card technology and programming. Mayumi realized that he had used the weapon's sequential casting technology to execute his attack despite the impossibility of creating waves of magical frequencies through it, and found his skill interesting. Hanzo regained consciousness and realized that the practical exam did not reflect Tatsuya's true abilities because it was based on special criteria, and he had to apologize to Miyuki for accusing her of being biased towards her brother based on their kinship, and left quietly. Tatsuya then went to the disciplinary committee headquarters with Mary, and finding the place in disarray, asked her to let him rearrange himself because he can't feel comfortable in this environment as a magic engineer. Mary is surprised that he aspires to be a magic engineer despite his fighting abilities. He tells her that he doesn't expect to get higher than a C rank no matter what he does. As they clean up the place together, Tatsuya thinks that dealing with second-rate students could be counterproductive. When she asked why he thought that, he replied that low-level students like him wouldn't accept being watched by a freshman and would create a double enmity with the elite students. Mary thought that they were just starting out and no one should be be disgusted by that discriminatory incentive, and when he remembered that he had been mistreated yesterday, she realized that he meant Shun, and Tatsuya was shocked to learn that he would be joining the disciplinary committee under a recommendation. Then 2 members of the disciplinary committee joined them after they finished their regular duties, and when they noticed Tatsuya's presence, she told them that he was joining the committee under the recommendation of the student council, and they realized that he was a reserve student because he didn't have a badge on his arm. Just when they were about to underestimate him, Mary told them that he had just kicked Hanzu's in a mock fight, which left them in shock as Hanzo had never lost a fight since joining the academy, and they began to look at him as a prodigy. Mary told him that Mayumi and Katsudo had chosen students who were immune to the feeling of boasting that they were different from those he'd met so far, and Kaotaru and Midori introduced themselves and welcomed him in. In the evening, Tatsuya is busy working at home when Miyuki joins him and asks him to evaluate her magic-using device as she wants to add some modifications and thought about it after watching his fight against Hanzo. Tatsuya is surprised that she doesn't think that traditional fighting styles are more suitable for her due to her high skill in using magic, but decides to fulfill her request and make a simple reconfiguration of the device so that she doesn't have to modify her own magic every time. Miyuki takes off her robe and lies down on the examination bed. After he finishes examining her, she approaches him and tries to seduce him, then asks him if Mayumi is the type of woman he prefers or maybe Mary. Suspecting that he was having perverted thoughts while in the presence of several attractive girls, she decided to punish him by using her magical power against him, and he ended up falling to the ground while using the self-repair technique to minimize the damage. And when he regained consciousness, he found Miyuki apologizing for overusing her power to play a joke on him. The next day, Tatsuya attended his first meeting as a member of the disciplinary committee, with Shun giving him the occasional glare, and Mary introduced the 2 of them to the rest of the members as newcomers. After the meeting, Mary gave them special magic use devices and told them that they had full authority to use them without asking permission and were allowed to carry them around the academy grounds, but that they were threatened with removal from their positions and severe penalties if they were caught using the devices inappropriately. Tatsuya wonders if he can use the committee's equipment as magic devices, and she wonders why he wants to use old-fashioned equipment when Tatsuya thinks it's first-class equipment with standards suitable for experts, which makes her think he's an interesting person. Shun then tells him that he can't use magic with 2 types of devices at the same time and warns him not to forget his status as a reserve student and get cocky, before leaving in a huff as Tatsuya continues to make his way towards the courtyard. Tatsuya came across his classmate Erika and found her being harassed by some girls. He did not hesitate to use his authority as a member of the disciplinary committee and used a dose of his frequency waves that temporarily paralyzed those around him, then grabbed Erika and ran away. After he was out of sight, Erika was embarrassed by the realization of her untidy clothes, while Tatsuya looked away and couldn't lie when she asked him if he saw anything under her clothes, causing him to kick her, and when he apologized, she told him that he should accompany her for the rest of the day. They end up at Kendo Club watching a mock fight, and Erika is soon bored by their fighting style, so Tatsuya tells her that it's just a show compared to a real martial arts battle where one opponent has to finish the other off. While they were talking, they noticed an issue between members of different martial arts. Erika was excited to take a closer look and found that it was a fight between 2 of the strongest fighters. Tatsuya asked if she knew them, and she replied that the Kendo Club girl is Sayaka, who took 2nd place in last year's National Girls Kendo Tournament. Takeaki is the winner of the Kanto Kenjutsu tournament the year before, and the 2 of them are about to have a kendo-style fight. Takeaki decides not to use magic out of compassion for her, while Sayaka scoffs at his desire to face her based solely on his fighting skills. At the start of the fight, Sayaka sealed the deal in a single move by sticking her staff between his shoulder and chest and telling him to accept his defeat because he would have died if she had fought with a real sword. Takeaki realized it was an interesting idea and decided to do it right away. As he started to use his magic device, Tatsuya analyzed his spell before casting it and found that he would be using the Sonic Blade spell, which allows him to fight with a special type of sword. Takeaki then attacks Sayaka to force her to fight him seriously, but Tatsuya intervenes and knocks him down after canceling his spell and decides to arrest him for improper use of magic. Takeaki's classmates are outraged that he would arrest him alone without taking Sayaka and accuse her of being guilty as well, and when they attack him, he manages to dodge them and take them down one by one. Sayaka wants to help him, but is surprised by Coach Kino, who stops her from getting involved and finds Tatsuya to be an interesting student despite being a low-level student. Tatsuya submits his report to his superiors and tells them that he has decided not to take further action against Takeaki after he admits his mistake and only sends him to the academy clinic to treat his injuries. Mary decides not to send the case to the correctional committee. When I asked Katsudo for his opinion, he respected his lenient judgment and said that normally Takeaki wouldn't have gotten away with being expelled and that he would counsel him later to learn from his mistakes. Tatsuya, on the other hand, looked at Katsudo with a keen eye and found him to be a person person to be reckoned with due to his strong personality and aura, as he is from the famous Numbers clan and has all the qualifications to become the head of the activities of all the clubs within the academy. In the evening, Tatsuya and his friends gather at a cafe for dinner, and Leonhardt tells him that he is lucky not to have been harmed by the deadly Takoyaki spell, and Tatsuya thinks that it is a spell with a limited range of effect, making it like dealing with a sharp sword. Miyuki then proudly told them that no one can defeat her brother no matter how skilled he is, since he is a master at negating magic frequencies. He told her that there is no way he can be a match for her though, since she knows all his tricks and uses his combat skills. Mizuki was curious to know if Tatsuya uses the nullification stone that helps him nullify the magic of his opponents. He replied that this stone is reserved for military forces and cannot be easily obtained by a civilian, and then he decided to tell them an important secret. He uses something similar to the theory of the nullification stone, but of a special kind. Erika felt as if he had invented a new type of magic, and then he began to explain the details of using two different types of magical devices at the same time. And when Leonhardt asked why he wanted to keep it a secret when he could make a lot of money by patenting his own invention, he replied that this technique is similar to the theories of the Stone of Heroes, but with a special type. He replied that the technology had not yet been refined and that the ability to nullify magic without using a specialized tool would cause him great trouble, especially since some misguided souls might want to use his technology badly. He added that he was waiting for the emergence of a countermeasure to nullify magic in order to announce his invention. The next day, Tatsuya was wandering around the academy and received an order to go to the gymnasium to investigate a fight inside. On his way there, he was surprised to be attacked by an unknown person, but Tatsuya was able to recognize his spell before he used it and blocked it. Just as he was about to be caught, the person ran away, and despite his speed, Tatsuya noticed that he was wearing a bracelet with a distinctive shape. At the end of the day, Tatsuya was happy to finally get some rest after the grueling week of recruitment for the disciplinary committee. Leonhardt told him that he had become popular with everyone and was known as the mysterious first-year student. On his way out with Miyuki, they run into Sayaka from the Kendo Club and notice that she's a reserve student like Tatsuya. She tells him that she came to express her gratitude to him for helping her against Takoyaki and offers to hang out for a while. He told her that he could meet her in exactly 15 minutes, so she decided to wait for him at the cafe near the academy. After she left, Tatsuya decided to go to the library to read for a while, and Miyuki asked him if he wasn't going to meet Sayaka. He thought it sounded like she was going to offer him to join the Kendo Club. Miyuki became concerned and told him that she felt it was more than that. Although she was happy that he was gaining popularity with everyone, she was afraid that his true powers would be revealed and people would start crowding around him, hoping to use him for their own benefit, and asked him to be careful. He patted her on the head and told her that he would be fine no matter what. He then went to meet Sayaka at the cafe, who was impressed by his ability to stop the fight between her and Takoyaki without hurting anyone. When he asked her what she wanted to talk about, he guessed correctly after she offered to join the Kendo Club. After he declined, he wanted to know why she decided to include him in the club, and she expressed her opinion that it is wrong to define everything by magic alone, and that the purpose of the club is to help those who lack magic to move forward and hone their sword fighting skills. Then she added that she couldn't bear the thought of being scorned or belittled for that reason, so she decided to unite all non-magical clubs and create an organization that was separate from the Activity Federation and wanted to help it. Tatsuya realizes that he misunderstood her by judging her as just a pretty kendo girl with ambition to achieve a certain goal, while Sayaka is surprised when he tells her to submit her question to the academy. The next day, Mary asked him if it was true that he had misbehaved with Sayaka yesterday at the cafe, and he denied it, and then she told him that she had a witness who had seen Sayaka blushing with him yesterday. Miyuki couldn't control herself, and her ice magic leaked out of her body to freeze the food in front of everyone. So Tatsuya asked her to calm down so he could explain, and she quickly recovered herself while the others found that she possessed an enormous amount of magical power. Tatsuya then turns his attention to Mary and tells her that the committee's activities have created animosity between them and the students, as Sayaka thinks that the committee is using the fight that happened a few days ago in her favor, and Mayumi thinks that someone is manipulating people's perception to discredit Mary in her eyes. Tatsuya asks if she knows who it is. She tells him it's just a rumor and that they would have caught him if they knew who it was. He says he wants to know who is responsible for the person who is doing the manipulation and gives them the example of Blanche's anti-magic organization. Mayumi told him that the government had covered up the organization and refused to directly confront them even though it was an anti-magic organization, and when Mary asked him what he intended to do about Sayaka, he decided to wait until their next meeting to think about what to do. Tatsuya then goes to meet Haruka, who summons him to her office to ask if he has gotten used to life at the academy. He tells her that he is having difficulty studying due to several unexpected events that have occurred recently. When he wanted to know the real reason why she called him, she told him that she wanted him to cooperate with her in obtaining information about the psychological tendencies of students, and he realized that she wanted to use him as a guinea pig for her study. He wondered why she chose him him since he didn't see himself as a unique student to be used as a research sample. She told him that this was the main reason why she chose him, and when he agreed to help her, she started asking him questions. After Haruka finished her questions, Tatsuya was about to leave when she asked him if the rumor that Sayaka had asked him out at the cafe was true. He replied that it was a false rumor and was curious to know the source, but she refused to tell him and considered it a secret, so he left quietly. Meanwhile, Master Kino was inciting Sayaka to use Tatsuya to obtain his powers at any cost. In the evening, Tatsuya reveals secret information about the Blanche anti-magic organization to Miyuki, telling her that he suspects that some within the academy are secretly working for them, and then tells him what happened when he was attacked by a mysterious person belonging to the organization. He then added that what confused him was the organization's policy of not rejecting magic outright, but rather aiming to eradicate mass discrimination by wizards and ignoring the fact that the elite wizards have the power to do so. Miyuki tells him that he's not an underdog, that he has a talent that no one else can match, but it's a little different than the rest, and yet he's put in enough effort. He tells her that this is exactly what makes him feel discriminated against, and that sometimes he's tempted to believe in equality even though it's a lie. He thought that there was an invisible force behind the low-level, non-magical people with the goal of turning Japan into a country where all forms of magic were extinct, and he decided that he would not stand idly by any longer, and for a moment he thought that they might return under the shadow of their family if their uncle intervened. He wonders if Miyuki is enjoying her life as a high school student and tells her that she has made 2 trustworthy friends and promises that he will never let anyone ruin their lives. A few days later, Tatsuya manages to activate his magic within 940 milliseconds after 3 previous attempts, which is an achievement for his level. Mizuki admires his persistence and tells him that at first she thought he was being too modest. Then she added that he would be perfect if he knew how to use magic, and it would be easier for her to talk to him about it. Then it occurred to her to find out how he felt about his test results that did not reflect his talent. He told her that talent alone wasn't enough. He also needed the speed of his magic, and when she thought that he would be able to activate his magic much faster if he mastered the speed of processing, he became suspicious of her and wondered why she was thinking about it. She was surprised to see that he had canceled his magic chain and built it from scratch on his first attempt, which led her to think that he could use that ability to build a chain of spells without using activation. Tatsuya realized that she was indeed insightful and told her that this would only work with spells that don't need to be healed, and that the most he could do is 5 healings at a time. Mizuki thought that would be a good amount to use in a battle. He told her that he wasn't studying magic to fight, but rather to use it to produce energy, and to do that, he needed spells with multiple healers, executed through a series of activations. Mizuki was impressed by his point of view, respected his goals, and decided to follow his example and start studying magic seriously rather than reinforcing the power of her own insight. Tatsuya thought to himself that it's not that important to him since he was forced to become a magician despite his inability to use magic, and felt as if he was cursed after having a flashback. In the evening, he met Sayaka to answer his question, and she told him that she wanted to ask the academy to improve the situation for those with low levels and abilities in terms of treatment. Tatsuya realized that she wanted to add a faculty for the reserve students since that was the only difference between them and the elite academically, and suggested that the kendo team be allocated the same space as the kenjutsu team in the sports arena. Confused, she asks him if he doesn't resent being discriminated against, and he nonchalantly tells her that he's not thinking of changing anything about the academy because he considers it a learning center for him and all he needs to do is read the unpublished documents and get certified. He then added that he doesn't blame the academy for their classmates' childish behavior towards them and told her before leaving that they don't share the same principles. Upon his return to the academy, all the students were surprised by an important statement from an unknown person informing them that a volunteer group had been established to stop discrimination within the academy. Tatsuya and Miyuki head to the student council to check on the situation. Mary tells them that someone has broken into the academy, cut the power and taken shelter in the broadcast room, and stolen the master key. Miyuki suggests that they try to resolve the matter rationally, while Tatsuya is curious to hear Katsudo's opinion and replies that he wouldn't mind trying to negotiate with them to calm them down while he thinks of a suitable punishment. Tatsuya then realized that Sayaka was behind the break-in, so he called her and told her that the officials were willing to negotiate with her group and wanted to set a time and place for the negotiation and guaranteed her complete freedom. After he ended the call, he told his comrades that she would come out to them immediately and that they should be prepared to arrest her accomplices. Mary wondered what he told Sayaka, and he said that he had guaranteed her complete freedom, but he didn't mention that he would negotiate with her personally, which would put the student council and the disciplinary committee in direct confrontation with her. After she leaves the broadcast room, the student council storms the room and succeeds in arresting her classmates, while Sayaka feels that she has been deceived and Katsudo tells her that Tatsuya did not deceive her and that he really intends to listen to her demands. To everyone's surprise, Mayumi intervened and asked them to release her partners, arguing that they shouldn't negotiate with Sayaka alone and that they should listen to the demands of the others as students at the academy and not treat them as criminals, then asked her to accompany her to the office to discuss the negotiations quietly. The next day, Mayumi was on her way to the academy and ran into Tatsuya and Miyuki, who asked about what happened between her and Sayaka yesterday. She told them that her group was demanding equal treatment between the different levels of students without thinking about how to change things. Tatsuya felt it was a good idea to hold an open forum tomorrow at the end of the school day to buy time to think about what to do. He wondered if the other council members would participate in the forum, and she pointed out that she would participate alone because she was confident that the discussion wouldn't get too heated this time due to time constraints, and she didn't want to change the course of the discussion into an emotional one. Tatsuya realizes that she doesn't intend to lose a logical argument and wants to use their strong reasons and motivations to turn them into an integral part of the way the academy works from now on. At the end of the school day, Tatsuya finds the members of the volunteer group inviting all students to attend tomorrow's forum to change the lives of second-level students for the better. Then he came across Mizuki talking in the hallway with Kino, and upon seeing him, he recognized him and suspected that he was the unknown person who attacked him a few days ago and belonged to the Blanche organization, while Kino decided to leave quietly after asking her to tell him another time to continue their conversation. When Tatsuya asked her about him, she told him that he was the president of the Kendo Club and that he had the same talent as her, hypersensitivity to magic particles, and was inviting her to join a club with students with similar symptoms, but she kept refusing him and trying to make excuses. At night, Tatsuya met with his teacher Yakumo to ask him about Kino, and he told him that his parents had no interest in magic, so he was from a seemingly ordinary family, but in fact belonged to a prominent family in the wizarding community, the Kamo clan, from which he inherited his eyes. Tatsuya wondered if Yakumo knew that he would be asked to investigate Kino, and Yakumo replied that he knew all this beforehand because he was used to investigating anyone with a past that could cause trouble in the future. Tatsuya asked if he had investigated him and his sister in the past, and Yakumo told him that he had tried to investigate them in the past, but he wasn't sure what information he got because there was a lot of manipulation. When Miyuki asked him to tell them what he knew about Kino's connection to the organization, he told them that his older half-brother, Hajime, is the leader of Blanche's branch in Japan and is now running the organization's secret operations. On the other hand, Hajime distributed rings to members of his organization, including Sayaka, and managed to convince them to be careful of the student council setting a trap for them at the forum. The next day, the open forum discussion between the representatives of the reserve students and President Mayumi began, with the students expressing their dissatisfaction with the academy's mistreatment and the deliberate discrimination between them and the elite, and the fact that the majority of the budget is spent in their favor. Mayumi argued that the elite clubs have won many championships over the years, and that spending a portion of the academy's budget on the clubs is not a waste of public money. Meanwhile, Tatsuya and his buddies are watching backstage in case anything happens, while Mayumi manages to sway the students with her speech about the struggles of second-level students and that she aims to make the high school experience memorable for all students by coexisting and getting along with each other. She then went on to say that she intends to revise the law regarding elected candidates for student council president at a general meeting before she retires, and will dedicate her efforts to making improvements throughout her term as president. At that time, everyone was surprised by loud explosions outside the building. When the underground members of the organization started to move, they were immediately arrested, and when a gas grenade was fired inside the forum hall, Hanzu was able to defuse it using his abilities. Then some masked intruders broke into the hall with their weapons, but Mary quickly subdued them with her magical power, while the intruders continued to shoot and fire missiles outside, so Tatsuya and Miyuki decided to go to check the hands-on training areas where the explosions occurred. Leonhardt was trapped in the courtyard by a group of intruders until Miyuki rescued him just in time, and the academy students were able to partially control the situation outside, with Erika thinking that they could fight the intruders without hesitation as they were just terrorists. Teacher Haruka joined them to tell them that the intruders' main target was the library and that attacking them here was just a diversion. She refused to explain further and then turned her attention to Tatsuya, asking him to give Sayaka a chance as she was being manipulated while struggling to balance her life between being a member of the Kendo Club and an ROTC student. Tatsuya was indifferent to these excuses and considered Haruka to be going easy on her. Leonhardt told him that his judgment was a bit harsh, but told him before heading to the library that he wasn't the only one who would be hurt by misplaced compassion, and the others followed him to support him. Leonhardt doesn't hesitate to use his power, and the others are surprised to find him using his spells by building a sequence of magic, so they decide to take advantage of his confrontation with them outside to head to the library. Tatsuya then senses a number of intruders inside the library in certain areas with his power, and Miyuki is surprised when he tells them that there are some in the reading room, telling her that they might be trying to steal secret materials. Erika rushes towards two of the intruders who appear in her line of sight and manages to take them down with ease. As she attacks them, Tatsuya and Miyuki decide to to take the opportunity to continue advancing inside the library. Sayaka, on the other hand, was confused in the reading room, wondering why her group needed to research advanced magic when they were only aiming for equality among the students. Sayaka was surprised to see the door shatter and Tatsuya and Miyuki appear in front of her. Tatsuya destroys the intruder's storage devices and tells them that the matter is now settled. One of them points a gun at him, and before he can fire, Miyuki freezes his hand and makes him suffer, then tells him that he must get past her first if he intends to get rid of her brother, while Tatsuya turns to Sayaka to tell her that there is no world where everyone is treated equally, and that she has been deceived by someone who convinced her of the idea of a perfect academy. Sayaka felt ashamed and couldn't understand how she ended up here. She wondered if she was wrong to try to erase the distinction between everyone and thought that he must have been mistreated as a child and constantly compared to his talented sister. Miyuki told her that she had no disdain for Tatsuya, that even if the whole world made fun of his abilities, she would give him love and respect all the time, and that there were plenty of people who knew how good he was. Miyuki then expressed that she felt sorry for her because she had no one in her life to recognize her, even though Tatsuya had already recognized her and told her that she had a certain amount of beauty in addition to her sword skills. Sayaka was embarrassed and rationalized that it was just superficial things. Sayaka told her that it doesn't negate that it's a part of her, and that's what makes her unique, and Sayaka was surprised when she told her that no one will eventually make fun of her more than herself. Suddenly, one of the intruders releases a gas grenade and orders her to use her ring. When they try to surprise Tatsuya, he manages to take them down effortlessly, while Sayaka takes the opportunity to run away, but Erika soon gets in her way and realizes that she knows everything about her. Seeing Erika throw her sword away, she pulls out her wand and tells her to have a serious sword fight, and she quickly attacks her, leaving Sayaka stunned at how fast she is. Sayaka decides to use the power of the ring to force her to stop. She rushes towards her and starts to hit her, but Erika manages to block her and cut her weapon in half, then asks Sayaka to pick up the nearby sword and unleash her power in exchange for releasing her from the ghost of the woman who binds her. Sayaka decides to forego the power of the ring and rely on her own strength after realizing that Erika is using the same acceleration technique as Mary, but as soon as Erika lunges at her, she manages to finish her off with one blow and forces her to submit. She then looked at her and admired her courage, and that she at least didn't hesitate to fight her seriously, and told her to feel proud of herself for pushing herself so far in the fight, but Sayaka quickly lost consciousness. On the other hand, Kino runs into Kaoru, who wants to ask him about Mayumi's mysterious skill of being able to manipulate air currents and mix several fragrances, allowing her to create a true serum without the use of drugs. Kino is shocked to hear this, and Kotaru tells him that they have proof that he planned everything that is happening right now. When he tries to escape using his abilities, Midori confronts him and forces him to submit to them, and they succeed in arresting him. In the evening, the police arrive and surround the academy, arresting everyone involved in the break-in. At the academy clinic, Sayaka tells Tatsuya and his companions that Kino was the one who instigated the kendo team to try to end racism in the academy over a year ago and ended up joining Blanche's organization under his older brother's leadership against her will. She then admitted that she started listening to the leader's words after experiencing racism within the academy in one situation after being ignored by Mary, as she wanted to face her in a duel after seeing how well she could use the sword and receive advice from her, but she found her coldly telling her that she was no match for her, which would make their duel a waste of time. Mary was surprised at what she heard for a moment, then remembered what happened that day and told her that she didn't mean to ignore her, and remembered exactly what she told her, that she thought she was no match for her skills at the time, and that it would be better to train with someone who was a match for her. Sayaka realized that she had refused to confront her because she thought she was stronger than her when it came to swordsmanship, not the other way around, and that she had misunderstood her, and was crying because of her foolishness, and wasted a whole year frustrating and blaming herself for nothing. Tatsuya told her that it wasn't a waste of time, that she was stronger than she was in middle school according to Erika, and that this was the result of honing her sword skills instead of drowning in sadness and frustration. She looks at him and asks him to do her one favor. She clings to him and starts crying so hard that she hides in his coat. After she calms down, he asks her about the current location of the Blanche members. Mayumi asks if he plans to beat them in battle, and he tells her that he plans to destroy them. They warned him that they should leave non-academy matters to the police, so he asked if they intended to send Sayaka to the family court for attempted robbery. Katsuda realized that police involvement was unwanted and told Tatsuya that the student council would not ask academy students to risk their lives in the face of terrorists. Tatsuya told him that he wasn't going to go to the student council anyway and had already decided to go alone. Miyuki approached him and said she wanted to go with him, and then the others got up the courage to go with him. When Sayaka thought he was doing it for her, he told her that the area where he lived had been targeted by them, so he would have to prevent any attempt to ruin his and Miyuki's lives. Tatsuya locates Blanche's current headquarters, an abandoned factory, and decides that they must resort to a direct assault. Before Katsudo heads to his car, he finds Takeaki asking him to let him accompany them since he can't ignore a mess like this. Katsudo refuses to take him, telling him that the reason is too shallow to risk his life for him. And when he asks him to give him a good reason to take him, Takeaki admires Sayaka's sword skills, which are the opposite of his bloodlust, and feels that it's nice to see someone who masters the art of the sword just for the sake of competition. He then adds that at one point she was confused about her skills, which made him angry, and he ended up losing his temper and fighting with her unnecessarily, and he felt that someone manipulated her and ruined her ability to use the sword back then, so he wants to vent his anger now. Katsudo is convinced of his point of view and agrees to let him accompany them. Tatsuya and his companions began their journey towards the abandoned factory, and Katsudo told him that he is the mastermind of this mission and has the authority to issue orders, so he began to distribute tasks to them and decided that he and his sister would take charge of the break-in while the rest secured the entrances and exits. As they approached the factory, Leonhardt used his ability to boost the power of the car and succeeded in smashing the gate. Tatsuya and Miyuki sneak into the factory, and when he uses his ability, he finds several enemies waiting for them in the front room, so he heads inside without fear and is greeted by Hajime, who introduces himself to him. Tatsuya raises his weapon in his face and advises him to surrender without resistance, which provokes laughter from Hajime, who tells him that he is wrong if he thinks that magic is the ultimate power, and then offers him to join them because his abilities interest him. Tatsuya wonders if this is what he was after from the beginning, using Sayaka to communicate with him and his brother's attempt to attack him in advance. Hajime takes off his glasses and tells him that coming here when he knows all this proves that he is just a child, and then uses his power over him to force him to obey him. However, Tatsuya is still conscious and can analyze his magic, which affects consciousness through a hypnotic that he sends to the retina, and Tatsuya realizes that this is a trick he used to affect Sayaka's memories and confuse them. But he doesn't fall for his cheap trick and turns his spell into a light signal. Hajime panics and orders his followers to shoot them, but their weapons are quickly reduced to junk thanks to Miyuki's abilities. Hajime had no choice but to run as far away as he could, so Miyuki asked Tatsuya to follow him and let her take over. As he left, someone tried to surprise him from behind, but he ended up frozen in front of his teammates. Katsudo used a shield to dodge bullets, allowing Takeaki to rush towards them and take them out. Tatsuya, on the other hand, sensed that there were many waiting for him and used the power of his weapon to disintegrate their weapons. Then he found Hajime among them, who tried to confuse his mind with his magic, but found Tatsuya telling him the names of his organization's customers and partners without being affected by his ability. So he ordered his followers to attack him and was shocked to see him using magic under the influence of confusion and eliminating his followers. Then he was surprised by the wall being shattered behind him by Takeaki and ended up trapped between them. As soon as Takeaki realized that this was the leader of Blanche who manipulated Sayaka, he did not hesitate to attack him and cut off his arm, while Katsudo used magic on him to render him unconscious. In the evening, the police arrived at the factory and Hajime and his followers were arrested, and the injured ones were taken to the hospital. The next day, Tatsuya goes to check on Sayaka and finds that she has largely recovered from her injuries, but is still struggling with the idea that she was wrong about Mary's perception of her, and tells him that she will need to stay in the hospital longer to lose the rest of her memories. He tells her that Takeaki has been hospitalized for his memories as well and will not face any criminal charges, and that all the students involved in what happened at the academy will not be reprimanded, and he guesses that the academy is trying to cover up what happened as much as possible after being put under surveillance. When he asked her when she would be discharged from the hospital, she replied that she would leave by May, so he asked her to tell him the exact date later so that he could come to celebrate her recovery. After he left the room, he found his family's servant Tadanori waiting for him, and when Tadanori returned in the evening to Chief Maya and told her the information he had obtained, she decided to leave things as they were as long as Tatsuya was doing his duty in guarding his sister and had no intention of betraying the family. A few months later, Tatsuya and his friends went to celebrate Sayaka's release and found that she and Takeaki had become very close to each other. Miyuki gave her a bouquet of flowers while Sayaka's father walked up to Tatsuya and introduced himself as Yuzo. When they had a private conversation, he expressed his gratitude to him for helping his daughter recover. He told him that he did not deserve such thanks as Miyuki and Erika were the ones who helped her recover. So Yuzo blamed himself for not realizing how much pain she was suffering due to her lack of magic, and that she was able to get out of her nightmare after he told her that she did not waste a year of her life in vain. When he thanked him again and found him to be humble, he realized that he was what Harunobu had told him about him. Tatsuya was surprised that he knew this person, so he told him that they had shared battles in barracks in the past and assured him that he would not tell anyone what Harunobu had said about him, and left quietly. When he returned to his comrades, he marveled at the coincidence that the person who raised him was actually a close friend of Sayaka's father. Erika got excited and thought that this was a strong bond between them, and then started messing with Sayaka and Takeaki by accusing her of being in love with Tatsuya, which made her blush. Then she had the confidence to confess her love for Tatsuya because of his constant strength, even though she was afraid of liking him and felt that she would never reach him no matter how hard she tried. While she found that Takiki was the one who kept up with her pace, which is why she chose him in the end. When Erika is curious as to how long he's been in love with Sayaka, Tatsuya tells her that it doesn't matter and that what's important is that he really loves her, since he realized at the moment he saw him pounce on Ajin without hesitation, as well as something else that's a secret. Takeaki is infuriated by the idea that he's an open book and threatens to make him pay if he tells anyone what he knows, and when Erika keeps pissing him off, they end up chasing each other like cat and mouse. After Tatsuya and Miyuki left the hospital, she told him that she intended to accompany him wherever he went, even if she had to fly through the sky at the speed of light. And when she found that he intended to return to the academy for the evening class, she took pity on him and told him that he always allowed himself to be ridiculed even though he didn't have to make an effort due to his limited abilities. He tells her that no one forced him to join the academy and that he enjoys being a student at the same place with her. He then decides to take her with him to the academy and spend the rest of the day enjoying their normal, hassle-free life. A few months later, the brothers are practicing at the temple under Yakumo's supervision when Tatsuya suddenly senses someone near them. It turns out to be Haruka, the teacher, and she is impressed that he was able to spot her so quickly. Yakumo tells her that she should hide her presence rather than suppress it if she doesn't want to be discovered. When Tatsuya wonders about her presence, Yakumo tells him that she is his student and tells Haruka about Miyuki's intention to participate in 2 martial arts tournaments this year. Tatsuya insists on getting an answer to his question of why she is here, so Yakumo tells him that she has become a public safety detective working for the police and asks them to keep it a secret between the 3 of them, and Tatsuya agrees on the condition that she keeps him informed of any incidents or plots caused by the Blanche organization. The next day, Tatsuya participates in the academy's soccer tournament. After his class team wins, he and Leonhardt notice that one of their classmates, Mikiko, has a unique talent and admire his prowess. When he sees Tatsuya, he tells him that he's been waiting for a chance to talk to them for a while since they have the composure to handle someone like Erika. When Tatsuya asks him about his relationship with her, Erika interrupts and replies that they are childhood friends, but she is surprised that he has deliberately ignored her for the past 6 months. Mikiko blushed when she saw that she was wearing an academic uniform without a skirt and wearing shorts that looked like panties. She explained that it was a girl's sports uniform, and Leonhardt realized that she was wearing the kind of pants that girls sell to old people to make money, and he ended up being knocked out after Erika gave him a resounding kick. Afterward, Mayumi sat down to discuss the 9 academies tournament with members of the student council, thinking that their academy's teams are complete, but they're short on magic engineers. When Suzune offered to take over as an engineer, she refused, telling her that she was sure she would end up disappointing them because of her mediocrity. When Tatsuya was about to leave, it occurred to Azusa that he might fit the bill since he specialized in modifying magic-using devices, and Mayumi felt a glimmer of hope. They realized that no freshman had ever been elected to the academy's technical team before, so Mayumi decided that he should be elected to the position. He told her that he might not be able to take over, as he had shown poor form more than once and was a reserve student. Miyuki told him that she wanted him to refine her own equipment during the tournament, and Mayumi suggested an after-school preparation session to continue the discussion, leaving Tatsuya unable to get out of the situation. As Tatsuya was putting his weapons in a new holster, Azusa caught his eye and asked to be allowed to take a look at his weapons. She then wondered what kind of person the genius inventor of these weapons was, and Tatsuya realized that she was curious about the genius engineer. While they were talking, Mayumi told her that she should have finished her essay during the break. Azusa remembered that she still had a lot of work to do, so Mayumi decided to help her and found that she was writing a report on the 3 biggest mysteries related to weight magic and was having trouble figuring out how to explain why flight spells can't materialize. Mayumi thought they could try to find someone who had tried a flying spell, and Suzune told her that someone in England had tried a flying spell last year, but for some unknown reason it had failed. When she wanted to know what Tatsuya thought of it, he told her that the experiment was fundamentally flawed. You can't use one chain of magic reactions in another chain of reactions, even if they intended to use an abolitionist spell. He went on to say that the British scientists had misunderstood the nature of the magic nullifier, causing the experiment to be flawed from the start. Azusa was surprised when she heard the bell for the start of class and failed to finish her report by the break. In the evening, Mayumi met with the board at the Academy's Activities Union and announced Tatsuya's candidacy as a member of the Academy's technical team, and the board was divided between those in favor and those opposed, questioning his ability to handle the responsibility. Katsudo suggested that he prove to the opponents that he is the opposite of what they think by having him modify a magic controller in front of them. Takeaki decided to volunteer and gave him his own device to modify and ended up asking him to copy the settings of Takeaki's device to another device for the sake of competitive use and make it immediately usable without manipulating the activation chain. After he started his work, he told them that he did not prefer to copy the settings of a controller controller with different specifications, then decided to take safety measures first, and after copying Takeyaki's data, some were surprised that he used a keyboard to enter the data despite the fact that they are in a more advanced age. Minutes later, Tatsuya finished the copying process, and when Takeyaki tried the new device, he found that it was no different from his own device, which means that he succeeded in carrying out his mission. And then one of the students continued to question his abilities and that he is not good despite having the capabilities. Azusa defended him and recommended that he be included in the technical team because of his ability to refine the devices manually, something that none of them can do, and Hanzu agreed with her that he has high-level skills that qualify him to become an engineer, and everyone was surprised to support him to participate in the 9 Academies tournament as a member of the technical team despite being a reserve student, and soon the rest of the students joined him. In the evening, Tatsuya receives a secret call from Harunobu after hacking into his phone lines, so no one can monitor their call, while Harunobu thinks the security system around his house is a bit overkill. When Tatsuya asked him to give him his daily report, he told him that they had finished repairing the third eye weapon and asked him to update the software and conduct some functional tests of the weapon. So Tatsuya decided to head to the center tomorrow morning. Before hanging up the phone, Harunobu asks Tatsuya about his participation in the 9 Academies competition and tells him that the competition will be held at Fuji's training area, so he should be very careful as they are used to encountering members of the International Crime Syndicate on a regular basis. To Tatsuya's surprise, Yuzo is assigned to investigate the matter and tells him that they are likely targeting the tournament and that he will contact him if there are any updates. As Tatsuya continues his work, Miyuki joins him to bring him coffee. Tatsuya was impressed to see her wearing the tournament outfit and told her that it fit her well. As he admired her appearance, Miyuki was surprised to see him floating in the air and realized that he had mastered the flying spell. He told her that he had successfully mastered the continuous gravity control spell, whereupon she approached him and expressed her pride in being his younger sister. He then gave her the controller and asked her to try it out to see if it worked, and after flying for a few seconds, she told him that she had no headaches or fatigue, so he felt relieved that his theory worked, and that he had created a device capable of curing magic in a way that is difficult for humans to do, while Miyuki continued to fly around him, enjoying her time. Tatsuya and Miyuki go to meet a man named Ushiyama at the center of the genius engineer Silver after he specially summoned him to collaborate with him on important work, and Ushiyama welcomes the idea of working under him. Tatsuya then showed him a model of a magic control device, and Ushiyama was stunned when he realized it was a flying device. After Tatsuya told him how he made it, he asked one of his followers how many models they had. Tatsuya told him they only had 10, which made him furious and demanded more, ordering everyone to bring everything they had so that Tatsuya could program it to fly. Afterward, a group of researchers tested the devices after Tatsuya had finished modifying them and found that they worked perfectly and helped to fly stably, and they ended up playing an air chase so happy with this invention that they lost their strength. Ushiyama then tells them that it's impossible to use flight magic for long, while Tatsuya realizes that the cascade processing of the activation chain will be disrupted if it stays the same, and he needs to modify the devices to be more efficient at absorbing magical energy. As Tatsuya and Miyuki leave, they run into their father Tatsuru and his servant Aoki, who welcome Miyuki back and completely ignore Tatsuya as a mere guardian, even though he belongs to this family as her brother. Aoki then tells her that everyone in the family wants her to be the future president because she is far superior to Tatsuya, whereupon Tatsuya interrupts him and tells him that he is being rude to the other candidates. When asked if his aunt had chosen an ally earlier, Aoki gets angry and tells him that Mrs. Maya hasn't revealed her intentions yet. Tatsuya is surprised that he doesn't know this despite being the 4th highest ranking member of the family house and guesses that he must have planted assumptions of discord in the head of one of the candidates. When Aoki uses the accusation to make fun of him, Miyuki can't help it and the magic starts to seep out of her. Tatsuya takes control of the situation and tells Aoki that the person he's making fun of is the successor of Miya, his mother who was once a member of the family, and that insulting him means insulting the head of the family and her sister. Tatsuru intervened and told him not to talk about his mother as if his hatred for her was unjustified, so Tatsuya left with his sister quietly after telling him that he didn't hate her at all because he didn't have a heart that could hate. The next day, Tatsuya found his classmates and friends congratulating him on becoming the technical team engineer of the academy and encouraging him to work hard, and Erika told him that he is in a good position where he will not find any of his classmates treating him with disdain within the sports team, unlike what happened at the beginning of the school year. Tatsuya stood among his teammates receiving his team badge from Miyuki, and when it was his turn, he found her handing it to him with a smile. After the ceremony was over, Tatsuya introduced himself to his new teammates and explained the technical nature of his work within the team. As usual, there were those who underestimated him and those who defended him because of his status within the academy, and he ended up watching his teammates arguing about him. In the evening, Mizuki was standing in the backyard of the academy when she suddenly sensed a strong aura in the surroundings surrounding area and was surprised when the aura disappeared in a short time without knowing what it was. Mizuki decided to go to the source of this aura and found that it was coming from the Academy's clinic. Once inside, she found that Mikiko had somehow summoned spirits and quickly sensed their presence through them. She panicked, thinking that the spirits would attack her, but she was surprised when Tatsuya appeared out of nowhere. When Mikiko saw him, he apologized for what he had just done, but Tatsuya blamed Mizuki for ruining his spell with her sudden entrance, and Mikiko was stunned when he realized that he knew what magic he had just used. When Tatsuya wondered what it looked like to Mizuki, she told him that she saw a mixture of shades of blue as well as balls of light. Mikiko was shocked at her ability to see different colors of shadows. He approached her to get a closer look at her eyes, but quickly realized that he was about to kiss her and pulled away, blushing that Tatsuya was still here. He apologized and told her that he couldn't help but think that she might have crystal eyes. When Tatsuya questioned her about it, she told him that it helps the owner to see spirits clearly through several colors together, unlike ordinary people, and that he may not see the spirits in front of him but interpret their vibrations through magic, and the way he perceives colors varies from person to person. Mikiko tells Tatsuya that a year ago he would have been fascinated by her ability and wanted to keep it to himself, which made her worried. He tells her that he no longer has any of those desires, but wants to let the other mages know that there is a key of a divine kind. Tatsuya decided to keep it a secret between the three of them, while Mizuki had no idea what they were talking about. The next day, the Academy team prepared to head to the camp, with Tatsuya in charge of registering the names of those who would take the bus. Mayumi arrives late and apologizes to him for making him wait so long. He tells her that he knows the reason for her delay was a family emergency. He is surprised when she asks him about the outfit she is wearing, and he coldly replies that it suits her. She tried to get him to talk for a while and indirectly asked him to flirt with her, but he left quietly after telling her to take a break on the bus to relieve her stress, and she felt irritated by his treatment of her and was thinking of inviting him to sit next to her. Suzune told her that he had made the right decision to avoid falling prey to her because of his ability to neutralize his opponent's magic. Their conversation was interrupted by Hanzu, who wanted to check on her because she was running late. When he noticed the dress she was wearing, he stared at her for a moment before he realized he was embarrassed and wanted to give Mayumi a blanket, but he was surprised when Suzune offered to sit next to her instead. On the other side, Mary was sitting next to Kenan, who didn't seem to be enjoying the trip. When I asked her why, she told me that she was looking forward to going on a bus trip with her fiancé Ki, but it was ruined when the technical team took another bus. Meanwhile, Miyuki felt sorry for her brother, who was forced to stand in the sun waiting for the rest of the team to board their buses, and kept asking herself why he was suffering all this time. Shizuku approached her and told her that this is what makes Tatsuya special, as he did his job perfectly without complaining or slacking off even if his job was boring, and Miyuki felt a little better and realized that he is special in a different way. On their way, everyone was surprised to see a car flying through the air in front of the buses after a tire blew out, which forced them to stop and ended up facing death as the burning car flew towards them. As the burning car is about to crash into the bus, Katsudo thinks he can stop it but can't put out the fire. Miyuki tells him that she will take care of the fire and offers to join forces with him. Katsudo created a protective shield to stop the car while Miyuki used ice magic to put out the fire, and they succeeded in keeping the danger at bay. Miyuki then noticed that Tatsuya had boosted her power by replacing the magic in her controller. Mayumi admires Katsudo and Miyuki's abilities, while Mary scolds Kenan, who almost caused chaos when she tried to cast a spell at random. After arriving at the camp, Hanzu stares at Tatsuya and Miyuki for some time, and when Takoyaki asks him if something is wrong, he tells him that his confidence is a little shaky, and Takoyaki says that this is not the right time as the tournament starts in 2 days. Hanzu was frustrated that he couldn't do anything when an accident almost hurt them, so Takoyaki told him that his choice to remain calm shows that he has the sense to make good decisions in difficult situations. He looked at Tatsuya and thought that he might lose if he had to face him in a test of strength, since he had taken the lead and was the reason for saving everyone, and that's why his confidence was shaken. So Takoyaki tried to comfort him and told him that this was more a matter of experience than strength, and this is what distinguishes Tatsuya and Miyuki in his opinion, where he sees that Tatsuya has enough experience to make him doubt that he has already died in a battle. Then he remembered the accident he had caused months ago and how Tatsuya was invincible, and saw that he resembled his father's comrades in the Marine Corps, and Miyuki has enough strength to make him realize that she is not an ordinary girl, and expressed his confidence that there are many reservists with great potential who have been judged by a preliminary test. Meanwhile, the brothers were discussing the accident that had occurred earlier, and Tatsuya thought that this was no ordinary accident as he discovered that there were traces of magic that had been released at a small scale and in a quantity too small to notice, and after analyzing the movement of the car during the accident, he guessed that whoever used the magic was inside to hide the fact that the accident was caused by someone else, most likely the driver. Miyuki was furious that someone would go to such lengths to harm them. He told her that criminals have always been cowards and this must have been the work of one of their followers. doors. After they went inside the hotel, they found Erika sitting waiting for them. Tatsuya decided to go to his room immediately. When the two girls were alone, Miyuki wondered why she had come, and before she could finish her question, she was surprised that Mizuki was with her and that they were wearing revealing clothes as if they were on a vacation. Erika told her that she would use her influence to stay with the others, and she was excited to attend the banquet with them tonight. In the evening, all the students were enjoying their time at the banquet by chatting while Tatsuya was standing alone until his thoughts were interrupted by the sound of Erika serving him juice. And when he saw her dressed as a waitress, he realized that she had used that to attend the banquet with everyone else. He admires her ability to sneak around, and soon Miyuki joins them and admires her outfit. Erika expresses her displeasure that she didn't receive enough compliments from her brother, and I tell her not to expect that from someone like Tatsuya since girls' fashion is not one of his interests. Mikiko was the first to tell her that some guys consider her a cosplayer, and when Miyuki had no idea who it was, she went to fetch him. Once she left, they were joined by Honoka and Shizuku, who told Miyuki that there were several guys who wanted to approach her, but Tatsuya was standing in the way. Kenan and Ki joined them in the middle of discussing something, so Tatsuya asked Miyuki to mingle with the rest of their classmates to strengthen the bond between them, and when she left with the others, Erika returned with Mikiko and noticed that Leonhardt and Mizuki were missing. Erika told him that there was no way Leonhardt would agree to work as a waiter to attend the banquet, and Mizuki refused to wear the uniform, so they ended up washing dishes in the kitchen, and Mikiko felt angry that she forced him to work as a waiter when he wanted to work undercover like them. After he leaves, Tatsuya wonders if she's being a little lenient with him, thinking that maybe she's deliberately teasing him too much even though she knows he's uncomfortable, but gets frustrated when she just watches him because he seems lost. Then she adds that they didn't go to the academy willingly, but because their parents pushed them, which makes her feel pity for him because they're going through the same thing. And when Tatsuya chooses not to pry further because there's nothing he can do, she's surprised that he's grateful that he's tough because it gives her the ability to open up to him as much as she wants. Meanwhile, Miyuki watches Tatsuya from a distance and wonders if he's paying attention, while an audience member named Misaki feels attracted to her, and when he asks his friend Shinkuru about her, he tells him that she is Miyuki, who intends to participate in 2 tournaments this year and is considered the trump card of her academy. RIZZ, the president of the Magic Federation, then gave a pep talk for the 9 Academies tournament. When he appeared on stage, Tatsuya sensed that something was wrong and guessed that he had cast a spell with a wide range to cover the entire auditorium. RIZZ then apologized for making them part of the skill he wanted to use and told everyone that he had just performed what was more like a magic trick than real magic, and was able to notice that only 5 people in the audience realized it was a trick, which meant that if a terrorist were to attack them, only those 5 would be able to stop him. He then went on to explain that magic itself is a means, not an end, as he only used a small amount of it to perform the trick, and advised them to put more effort into developing their magical abilities, and expressed his interest in seeing their creations in the near future. After the banquet, Honoka was nervous about the tournament starting tomorrow, but Miyuki told her that it was still early, as the beginner events would start on the 4th day of the tournament. When they heard a knock on the door, Honoka went to check it and found a group of girls inviting them to the hot springs in the basement of the hotel. Honoka wondered if they were allowed in, and Amelia told her that the springs were open until 11 o'clock. She ends up being harassed by her fellow hot springers because of her sexy body. When Miyuki joins them, they stare at her for a while, much to her admiration, and when they remember that she has the ability to turn the spring water into an ice arena, they stop flirting with her. Then they told her that the Chijo hair was present at tonight's banquet and was staring at her the whole time, while Miyuki didn't notice it at the banquet and said she only saw him in pictures. Meanwhile, Mikiko was practicing spirit magic outside and suddenly sensed intruders nearby and decided to report it to security rather than risk confronting them. But when he remembered what Tatsuya had done and his strength despite his lack of magic, he felt jealous and wanted to prove to himself that he was no less than him. He rushed towards the source of his sensor and noticed 3 intruders and threw 3 cards at them, but before they could attack him, their weapons suddenly shattered and they ended up being electrocuted, and Mikiko was surprised that Tatsuya had come to save him. Tatsuya examines the injured intruders and finds that they are still alive, proving Mikiko's prowess in using his powers to stop them without causing their deaths, while Mikiko does not deny the fact that he would have died if he had not come to his rescue. Tatsuya tells him that this is just an assumption and that he was able to catch the intruders with his own powers, then asks him what he thinks about himself and why he underestimates himself even though he has the power. Mikiko is frustrated by his question and tells him that he won't understand even if he answers, but there's nothing he can do about it. Tatsuya guesses that his concern is the speed of his shocks, and Mikiko is surprised that he knows about it, thinking that Erika told him. Tatsuya told him that there are many unnecessary elements in his spells, and it has nothing to do with talent. Mikiko was furious and told him that his spells were the result of years of family improvements, and he will not allow him to minimize his family's efforts. Tatsuya tells him that he can read the content of his magic activation sequence hands and observe its details only through vision, then tells him to go get the security forces and stay here to guard. As he leaves, Harunbu appears and marvels at his advice to Mikiko, despite his indifference to others, and speculates that the reason may be that Mikiko shares his internal struggles with him. Tatsuya wants to make sure his teammates are ready for the competition, so Honoka tells him that she's been practicing to improve her skills and has been sleeping extra hours. When Miyuki tells him that she's gained muscle in her body, she feels embarrassed and tells them that she has no intention of becoming a muscular woman. Frustrated that she wasn't one of the favorites to win the tournament after all, she asked Tatsuya to watch her fights, and he told her that he would adjust her equipment during the fight, while she was thinking that he would watch both Miyuki and Shizuku. He told her that he wouldn't leave her behind and would participate in her training and strategy to win the fights, and then the girls caught his attention that Honoka wanted to get closer to him without him realizing it, which caused him embarrassment. After that, the first fight of the competition between the academy students began, and Mary prepared to outsurf her opponents. As the fight began, Tatsuya noticed that she tried to take them down by creating a large wave of water, and when that didn't work, she used her power to increase her speed and stabilize her position on the surfboard. He was impressed by her ability to cast 3 or 4 spells continuously in a row. Within minutes, Mary managed to take first place, outperforming the rest. After the competition, Tatsuya went to meet Harunbu. One of them, Shigeru, told him that he had been summoned not as a special officer and first-class magician, but as a friend, and when he sat down with them, Harunbu told him that they suspected that the International Crimes Organization was behind the attack on him yesterday, but that the matter was still being investigated. Kyuko joins them and asks if he had any prior knowledge of such an attack. He replies that it was just a coincidence that he sensed intruders while he was out and about. When Major Kushik asks him if his colleagues know about the power of his weapon, he tells him that it is still a secret among them. Kyuko is surprised that he won't participate in a competition, even though he's capable of winning first place. Harunbu says that casting military-level magic in a public tournament isn't a good idea, and Tatsuya thinks that there's no way he'll end up in a competition as part of the technical staff. Afterward, he returned to the stands before the start of Mayumi's match and found that the crowd was still large, then noticed that Mikiko had disappeared and Erika told him that he had gone to take a break in his room. Then they saw Mayumi heading to the arena and preparing to beat her archery opponent, and once the match started, everyone was surprised that her ability was faster than last year, and Mayumi succeeded in crushing her opponent effortlessly by a huge margin. In the evening, Mayumi sat down with the girls to celebrate her victory in the quarterfinals, relieved that things were going well for their academy. Then she thought about asking Tatsuya to adjust the magic devices of the participants in tomorrow's matches since he was free, and asked Miyuki to let him know. She took the opportunity to go to his room late and tell him what Mayumi had assigned him while he was busy working. Then Tatsuya told her that a girl shouldn't be wandering around alone at such a time, and then decided to give her a ride to her room, and she felt grateful that he put her at the top of his priority list and approached him to tell him that he was the most important to her. The next day, Tatsuya was tinkering with a magic device when Mayumi asked him to help her with her pre-game practice, and she felt grateful to him and told him that she felt like she had a younger brother. They were interrupted by the arrival of Rika, who told him that he could go watch Mayumi's match and that she would take care of the rest of his teammates' equipment, and left quietly to their surprise. At the start of Mayumi's match, she was able to outperform her opponent as usual, and I felt that she might impress Tatsuya while he watched. While Kanon's pole-smashing match started on the other side. As soon as Kanon started using her abilities, Tatsuya realized that she was using a mind source to damage pillars from a long range, and she kept smashing pillars one by one as her opponent couldn't keep up with her magical ability. Although she changed her strategy to surprise Kanon, she ended up losing the match, and when they returned to the camp, everyone was frustrated. Suzune told them that things didn't go as expected for the boys' match, which made them recalculate their odds of winning the competition and realized that they would have to win the next 4 competitions in order to settle the matter in their favor. In the evening, Tatsuya finds his colleagues gathered in his room to inspect his work on modifying magic devices. He gives Leonhardt a bag containing a special weapon and offers to test it, confident that it will suit him, and Leonhardt agrees to be his guinea pig as soon as he sees the weapon. Leonhardt heads to the courtyard next to the hotel to freely test his new weapon, and when he uses his power on it, he is surprised to see the blade of the weapon split in half, and the other half flies high and then returns back to the weapon. Leonhardt was impressed with the weapon and told Tatsuya that he could use fortification magic without having to connect the materials together, and that it would save him from having to think about having a long sword. So Tatsuya asked him to test the weapon's power on an easy target. Then he showed him a bunch of moving targets, and Leonhardt was able to crush them, and he had a great time testing the power of his weapon. The next day, everyone was watching Mary's surfing match. Mary was surprised to find that her speed was matched by a student from the academy known as the 7th Sailor High School. During the race, the student lost her balance after using excessive acceleration and rushed towards Mary, who used her magic to reduce her speed, but they ended up out of the race after flying a long distance. In the evening, Mary regained consciousness in the hospital and found Mayumi Mayumi next to her with several injuries. She told her that she had broken her ribs and was in a precarious position to move and would need to stay in the hospital for a week to fully recover. She was disappointed that she would have to withdraw from the tournament. When she asked what happened to her opponent, Mayumi told her that she had been disqualified for reckless behavior and that the 3rd and 9th academies had qualified for the finals. Then she admired her ability to protect her rival and save her from being critically injured, and that this was Tatsuya's opinion as well. Mary was surprised that his name was mentioned at this time, and was surprised to learn that he was the one who carried her to the hospital and stayed by her side during her treatment, and she felt embarrassed at the thought of it. Mayumi then asked her if she felt that a third party had tricked her during the accident, as she had noticed her losing her balance before her rival reached it and guessed that someone else had used an illegal spell to trip her up. When I asked her why she thought of it that way, she told me that she noticed a strange movement on the surface of the water at the time, as if someone had deliberately made a hole and hit her. She then added that Tatsuya was going to borrow the video recordings from the staff to review what happened in detail. On the other side, Tatsuya was doing his job of reviewing the recordings and confirming his analysis that a third party had interfered with Mary's obstruction. Kei thought that they would have a hard time finding the perpetrator, as he must have used his spell outside of the surveillance area, or maybe he was hiding underwater. Tatsuya thought it was a nonsensical theory, as no one can hide themselves underwater using magic, or it could have been a non-human being. He then asked Mikiko if it was possible to cast a spell that would cause the surface of the water to move downward using soul magic, and he told him that it was possible as long as the user had a good knowledge of the terrain around them, but with certain criteria. Tatsuya reviewed the recordings again and found that Mary's competition would have slowed down at a certain point, but instead she accelerated, causing the accident. Kanan thought that no magician of the level to participate in the tournament would make such a rookie mistake. Tatsuya realized that the competitor's controller had been tampered with and suspected that there was an intruder among the tournament committee members, since the committee had obtained all the participating academies' controllers for testing, and this was probably the timing that had been tampered with. In the evening, Mayumi tells her teammates that they must make sure to place first in the remaining competitions in the tournament to secure a spot in the semifinals, and that they must be wary of interference from an unknown person like Mary. Joined by Tatsuya and Miyuki, Mayumi showed them the academy's results over the course of the tournament, and that their top spot in the standings was in Jeopardy after the third academy's unexpected results over the course of 2 days. Surprised by Mayumi's decision to have Miyuki take Mary's place and compete in the Mirage Bat competition, with Tatsuya taking over her equipment and helping the others with their remaining matches, Miyuki wonders why she was chosen as Mary's replacement. Mary replies that they don't have backup players for this event, so they decided to prioritize those who have already trained, and she has what it takes to win the competition. Tatsuya is convinced of their point of view and vows to do his best to help his sister and the other participants, which makes her feel confident. The next day, Tatsuya went about his business as usual, accompanied by Honoka, who expressed her excitement about participating in the novice event starting soon. He told her that he wanted to check out her controller but would just watch her match from the sidelines. He then went to check Shizuku's weapon and wished her luck in today's match. On the other side, everyone in the stands was waiting for the match to start, and Mayumi and Mary were excited to see the performance of Shizuku's weapon that Tatsuya himself had refined from scratch. Shizuku was able to use her magic to match the power of the weapon and ended the match with a perfect score, while Mayumi and the others were surprised that Tatsuya had invented a technique that reversed Mayumi's magic. After Shizuku left the arena, Tatsuya congratulated her on her victory and was satisfied with the settings of her weapon, then told her to check her controller later as he made some minor adjustments to it, and on the other side, the student council was reviewing the results of the players. Tatsuya tells Shizuku that he is willing to modify it again if she feels uncomfortable, but Shizuku decides to do her best to adapt to the capabilities of her weapon so that his efforts are not in vain, and vows to win her remaining matches. Shizuku manages to win her match in 30 seconds using her upgraded weapon. Mayumi, on the other hand, praises Tatsuya's mastery of weapon modification, but he tells her that it was Shizuku who played the match and was able to beat his opponents, not him. Mary marveled at his frustrated reaction, even though he was the reason the Academy's players placed in the top 3 in this competition, and a university asked them to add Shizuku's type of magic to the Academy's catalog. He asked them to attribute the development of the magic and the control device to her, and not to mention his name, but she refused because the patent originally belonged to him, so he told her that a person who uses a new type of magic is usually named as the developer. When Mary marveled at his humility, he told her that he just wanted to avoid the fact that he couldn't use magic because it takes a lot of time to activate it, so Mayumi approached him and told him that she was counting on him to continue like this for the remaining matches. Meanwhile, the third academy was in a closed-door meeting led by Masaki, discussing the first academy's superiority in most competitions, and Masaki told them that the academy's superiority had nothing to do with power because they wouldn't have finished second or third based on their magical power alone. Shinkaru tells him that the secret lies in their engineer, who obviously has skills and talent in modifying weapons. He even made a weapon for Shizuku that is not available in stores and contains advanced technology that was revealed last summer, yet the engineer made an even more advanced model. Tatsuya decides to go back to the dorm, but when he realizes that Honoka's match starts in 2 hours, he wants to see if she needs any help, so he asks to take a look at her controller. 2 hours later, Honoka prepared the type of magic she would use in the surf race while Tatsuya and the others watched the race from the stands wearing special glasses. Once the race started, Honoka used an optical spell on the surface of the water, causing her opponents to be disrupted and rushing at full speed without anyone being able to catch up with her, and won the race effortlessly. She then rushed over to Tatsuya, overjoyed that she had won the race thanks to his help, then started crying and told him that she always ended up losing matches, which made her afraid to participate in competitions, and Shizuku whispered that she was talking about her days in elementary school. In the evening, the student council found that the girls had achieved impressive results, unlike the boys who had been eliminated from their competitions. Katsudo thinks that they need to come up with a solution before they get into trouble in the future. Meanwhile, the International Crimes Organization is discussing why the Third Academy is faltering in the tournament despite being the favorite on paper. Realizing that the team they had bet on was in jeopardy and could be expelled if they lost due to debt, they decided that they had to intervene to help the Third Academy beat the First Academy at any cost. Tatsuya enters his room and finds Miyuki waiting for him inside. He tells her that she shouldn't be up so late so that she doesn't get distracted and cause their team to lose, and decides to accompany her to her room. She told him that she wanted to talk to him about refusing to add his name as a developer to the Academy's catalog, and asked him if he deliberately did it for Maya. He told her that this was his intention as he might get caught, and people would know his true identity as Silver, the genius engineer who contributed to the development of humanity with his inventions because he still lacks strength. He says that he could defeat Maya in a face-to-face duel, but he would still be unable to subdue the entire family, which means that strength alone is not enough, and he worries that by defeating Maya, he will make way for someone more malicious to take her place. Miyuki rushes over to him and tells him that she will always be by his side and that she is confident that the time will come when he will succeed in bringing down the source of evil in their family. The next day, Tatsuya finds that Shizuku intends to play the match wearing a yukata. He wondered if the long sleeves wouldn't be a hindrance. She told him that she would use her scarf and had already shortened the sleeves, then headed to the competition arena and stood in front of her opponent. Miyuki, on the other hand, felt it was unfair to peek at her device's capabilities since they would be competing in the final match. But soon the match began and each used their abilities to smash the other's ice pillars, and Shizuku managed to beat her opponent and advance to the pillar smashing final. Tatsuya then inspected Honoka's equipment before her match while Honoka sat reminiscing about the first day of the acceptance test when she witnessed Miyuki's amazing power with magic, and when it was Tatsuya's turn, she was surprised that his magic made no noise and passed smoothly through his body. Mayumi and the others join them to cheer them on, while Tatsuya tells his sister not to let the crowd's cheering make her nervous during the match. Miyuki heads to the dueling arena, and as soon as the match begins, she uses fire magic to melt her opponent's poles to everyone's amazement, then uses ice magic to break them all at once and ends up qualifying for the final match. In the evening, everyone sat around celebrating the fact that 2 students from their academy had made it to the final and won the competition. As all the girls huddled around Tatsuya, Shun was furious and decided to leave. When his friends followed him, he told them that they must win the monolithic blade match tomorrow at all costs to prove once and for all that the elite students are superior to the reserves. Tatsuya runs into Masaki and Shinkaro, who introduce themselves to him and asks why they want to meet him before their match. Shinkaro tells him that he is the most extraordinary engineer in the 9 Academies tournament, which makes them curious to see him. He asked Miyuki to go get ready for her match, and when he was alone with them, they wanted to make sure he wasn't responsible for modifying the players' equipment in the monolithic blade competition. They felt confident when they were sure and vowed to win tomorrow, and before they left, Masaki told him that he was looking forward to their next meeting. Afterward, the rest of the students sat in the stands watching Honoka's wave race. At the start of the race, Honoka chose to maintain her speed, and the others noticed that a shadow appeared on the course as Honoka was ahead of her opponents and crossed the finish line in record time. Meanwhile, Mayumi admired the efforts that Tatsuya and his fellow first-year students had made to pass the novice stage and told them that the tournament committee had made a request that they would receive the same point total regardless of the results in the finals, allowing them to withdraw from the final and have Shizuku, Amy, and Miyuki share first place. Amy declared her intention to withdraw anyway, while Shizuku wanted to take the opportunity to face Miyuki in an evenly matched match, so Miyuki decided to accept the challenge and play the final match against Shizuku. Shizuku realizes that she can't affect Miyuki's poles due to her ice magic, so she decides to use her controller to aim at one of the poles and cause it to melt with sound waves. Everyone was surprised that she decided to use such a powerful spell, while Miyuki decided to use Niflheim's spell and cause an ice storm, then used fire magic to melt the pillars and explode them, and in the end Shizuku received a crushing defeat at the hands of Miyuki. In the evening, Hanoka went to Shizuku's room and found her in a state of frustration, so she sat next to her and tried to comfort her. Shizuku told her that she knew she had no chance of winning from the beginning, and then began to cry in Hanoka's arms. On the other side, Tatsuya lay on his bed thinking about his meeting with Masaki this morning and remembered that 3 years ago, when the new Soviet Union invaded Sato City, Masaki joined the defense lines as a volunteer soldier at the age of 13 and managed to annihilate the enemy forces through the magic of tearing, and since then he has become famous as the Crimson Prince. Shinkuru, on the other hand, was able to discover essential codes at a young age and became famous in the community of magic researchers. He thought that the fact that the two were enrolled in the same academy and the same class was a criminal coincidence and felt sorry for his classmates who would have to face them. The next day, the building where Shun and his fellow participants were hiding during their match that day had been subjected to a massive magical attack, and Shizuku suspected it was a deliberate attack despite the lack of evidence. Mayumi tells him that Shun and the others were buried in the rubble after the building collapse. Tatsuya thinks that this is a clear violation of the tournament rules, and when he wonders if Shun and his teammates were inside the building at the same time, Shizuku tells him that they were bombed right after the fight started, making it a deliberate act. Mayumi continued that there were calls for the match to be cancelled, but the officials decided to go ahead with the competition, which would put them in an awkward position, and they might have to withdraw from the second preliminary match. Tatsuya thinks they have no choice, and Mayumi asks him to have a private conversation. She asks if he thinks this is sabotage like Mary, and tells him that the opposing academy team swears it wasn't their doing. Tatsuya tells her about the incident where intruders broke into the hotel before the tournament and asked him to keep quiet about it, and that the intruders were members of a criminal syndicate in Hong Kong. On the other hand, the organization felt triumphant that they were able to eliminate the academy from the competition and make way for their trump card. The next day, Tatsuya gives Hanoka and Subaru instructions before their match, telling them not to try to push themselves too hard, as the Mirage Bat competition is all about stamina, and they have a chance to win both first and second place. When the match begins, everyone is impressed by Hanoka and Subaru's abilities that give them an advantage over the rest of the competitors. Meanwhile, Azusa is surprised to hear someone describe Tatsuya as a kind of genius engineer silver, and when she connects all the events together and his contribution to developing all the players' magic into late-level abilities, she begins to doubt his identity. Then she remembered what he had told her when she asked what Silver looked like, and his response that he might just be an ordinary Japanese guy like them confirmed her hunch. After Hanoka and Subaru won their match, Mayumi met with the team and expressed her gratitude to Tatsuya for his contribution to the Academy's first-place finish in the Elite Division. She then expressed her desire to take first place in the Novice Division, even though they had been relegated to second place because of what happened in the Monolithic Blade match, and to make things even more difficult, they would have to face the strongest duo in the tournament, Masaki and Shinkuru. Tatsuya wanted to ask why she chose him, and Mayumi told him that she thought he was the best possible replacement. Mary tells him that he is the best among the first-year students in terms of combat skills, and will be able to achieve great results, so he suggests that they choose any of the players who have participated in only one event to take over, because he is here as an engineer and does not want to cause psychological harm to the elite students. Katsudo told him to stop being childish, that he was a member of the team no matter what his position was, that there was no harm in participating in a competition, that he had no right to challenge the captain's decisions, and told him not to use his status as a reserve student as an excuse to get out of it. Tatsuya found himself in a dilemma. He was forced to fight in the tournament, which could lead to his true identity being revealed, and when he wondered about his team members, Katsudo left him free to choose the teammates who would participate with him in the match, so he decided to choose Mikiko and Leonhardt, even though they are not members of the team. When Mary asks him why he chose these two, he tells her that he doesn't have time to get to know the personalities of new teammates, and that they will save him time because they are familiar to him and have abilities that will contribute to their team's victory. Leonhardt is surprised when Tatsuya tells him that he will be participating in tomorrow's match and asks him to give him his controller for testing, while Mikiko is frustrated that he was dragged into the matter without being consulted. Tatsuya then began assigning tasks and making a plan. He assigned Leonhardt to defend their area and prevent the enemy from coming within 10 meters of it, but Leonhardt told him that he was bad at long-range spells. Tatsuya then gave him his new weapon and told him that he was allowed to use it by firing part of the blade at their opponents, then told Mikiko that he would be in charge of surprise strategies and trying to sneak through the opponent's lines. Mikiko wondered if it was true what he had told him in the past about his family's magic being too complicated to use his spells the way he wanted, but Tatsuya told him that every magic has its own specialty, and that he had to choose between using civilized magic in direct confrontations or ancient magic for stealth and traps, which is why he chose him, and Mikiko decided to put his trust in him. The next day, Tatsuya and his companions prepare for the duel, while Masaki and Shinkuru are excited to see what he can do as a player, and once the match begins, the team sticks to the plan and and gains an advantage over their opponents to the duo's amazement. On the other side, Mary is surprised to see him using the Spellbreaker ability and remembers that he was the one who used it in the burning car accident, while Mayumi confirms her suspicions that he is using the most powerful anti-magic spell that no magician can use. In the meantime, Tatsuya's team managed to reach the enemy area, but they preferred to retreat after opening the monolith. On the other side, Leonhardt was able to protect his area with his weapon abilities. Then Mikiko used spirit magic to confuse one of the players, while Tatsuya headed towards the last player and was able to surprise him with a back attack. After the match ended with Tatsuya's victory, Misaki wondered what they should do in their match against him, while Shinkuru thought that he must have fought actual battles earlier and that they should be wary of his combat skills more than magic since they seemed to be weaker. He then told Misaki that he had a chance to win if he could avoid his traps and fight him face to face in his own way. In the next match, Tatsuya's team used the same strategy, and with a few direct clashes here and there, they were able to gain the advantage and win. Meanwhile, Kaosuke expressed confidence that Tatsuya might have to use the Lightsaber spell later on. Kyuko tells him that he won't be able to face the stronger duo with his limited controller. After the match, Tatsuya insists on watching the third Academy match before going to get some rest. On his way, he encountered Erika scolding her brother for coming here, accusing him of neglecting his duties to meet Mary, and telling him that his condition had worsened since his involvement with her. He told her that Mary had nothing to do with his condition, and that he was worried when he learned of her injury. He then told her that she was the one who should be ashamed for her rude behavior and asked her to apologize to Mary. She insisted on her opinion and left in anger, and when she saw Tatsuya and Miyuki in front of her, she accompanied them to a place far away from her brother. She then expressed her displeasure at her brother dating Mary and accused her of seducing him. Miyuki thought she had a big brother complex or loved him too much, which angered her even more, while Tatsuya stood sipping his drink in the distance listening to their argument. Mayumi and Katsudo, on the other hand, were watching the match on TV and found Masaki's power to be beyond expectations, and Katsudo thought he would challenge Tatsuya regardless of whether or not he deliberately imitated his technique. Tatsuya realizes that Masaki intends to push him into a direct fight by deliberately opening his field and finds that eating the bait will give him a better chance of winning despite the risk, and admires Shinkuru's ingenuity in devising such a plan. He then began to think about the skills of the other members of Masaki's team and guessed that Shinkuru specialized in the hidden bullet technique, so they would have to be careful of all the players, and then told his team that they should now focus on their next match. The next day, Tatsuya sneaks up behind the enemy team and manages to create an opening for his team by opening their monolith, and ends up winning after Mikiko places the blade inside it. While Erika admires Mikiko's prowess, Mikiko then went to the rooftop to view Mount Fuji from above and happened to run into Erika, who told him that she had come here to spend some time alone. After a while, she broke the silence by asking him if he had come here to immerse himself in the energy. He was confused by her calling him by his first name, and when she repeated her question, he took a deep breath to help him compose himself. Erika then told him that she noticed that he was able to use his magic as before his accident and congratulated him, and before she left, she told him that he didn't have to worry about the Third Academy if he continued to do so. On the other side, Tatsuya secretly met with Haruka and received a mysterious bag from her, then tasked her with finding the headquarters of the Dragon Order in Hong Kong. Shocked that he knew about the Dragon Order, he told her that it is normal to investigate enemies who intend to harm them and wants to be prepared until the time is right to strike back. Meanwhile, Masaki and Shinkuru learn that their match against Tatsuya will take place in an open plains area and are excited to see if he will take the bait they have set for him in a direct confrontation against Masaki and force him to use his trump card. Mikiko and Leonhardt are surprised when Tatsuya gives them cloaks with magic circles engraved inside and tells them to wear them during their match against Masaki's team and use them to block Shinkuru's spell without breaking the rules. When Mayumi asked him if he had a plan to confront Masaki directly in an open space, he thought he could use his obsession with Masaki to push him into a short-range battle while keeping him out of physical contact. The next day, he sat practicing alone, thinking that he wasn't sure he could defeat Masaki in a real fight. Miyuki joined him to give him a towel and told him that she was confident that his next opponent would be stronger than the previous ones and that he might need to use his restraining power, then expressed her confidence that no one could beat him before she left quickly. When it came time for the final match, Erika burst out laughing at the sight of Mikiko and Leonhardt looking like idiots wearing capes, and when Mikiko questioned why Tatsuya wasn't wearing a cape like them, he told him that he would be in the lead and shouldn't wear something that would hinder his running. Masaki, on the other hand, realizes that they have exposed Shinkuru's power and are trying to stop her with this cloak, which makes Shinkuru wonder if Tatsuya has more tricks up his sleeve, but Masaki tells him not to overthink it and that a piece of cloth like this won't hinder their victory. At the start of the match, Masaki attacked from long range while Tatsuya was on defense and tried to damage him with a few bullets, but to no avail until they were close enough to each other. Shinkuru wondered if Tatsuya had mastered a new series of magic magic activations in just 2 hours after using a different style than his usual fighting style, and decided to step forward and let their third teammate defend the area. Tatsuya continued to block Masaki's attacks until he decided to use his sixth sense to help him detect where the bullet was fired before Masaki could execute it, while Leonhardt blocked Shinkaro, who was surprised by his ability to use his robe as a shield. Mikihiko then tried to surprise him with an attack, but he was able to dodge it. Before he could use his power, he fell prey to Mikihiko's illusion magic, and Leonhardt wanted to use his distraction to finish him off, but Masaki saved him just in time. Shinkaro was able to capture and restrain Mikiko, while Masaki, shocked by Tatsuya's reckless rush towards him, used his power and realized too late that he hadn't modified his device, putting Tatsuya's life in jeopardy. Tatsuya, on the other hand, relied on his speed to block Masaki's magic circles, but unfortunately he was attacked by one of them before he could aim, leaving Masaki in trouble for breaking the law by using too much power and possibly being disqualified. In the meantime, Tatsuya self-rehabilitated his body after being severely damaged and approached Masaki until he was standing directly in front of him and used his trump card by activating a high-frequency sound wave ability that knocked him unconscious by snapping his fingers. Mayumi was shocked to see what happened, as Tatsuya must have been nearly defeated, and wondered how he was able to withstand the attack. Katsudo told her that he must have high stamina due to his training in the ancient martial arts style. Kusuke, on the other hand, was impressed by his superhuman speed of regaining his balance, since he had never seen him use the spell that enables him to do so before. Kyuko told him that it didn't mean that they were allowed to use him as a lab rat, and thought that he might collapse after a few trials due to his weakness. He then wondered if a member of their squad could activate a magic chain faster than Tatsuya, and she told him that since he was up against someone as powerful as Masaki, she wouldn't blame him if he used the light caster spell. At that moment, Shinkaro couldn't believe he saw Masaki lying on the ground after losing to Tatsuya, and Mikihiko suddenly attacked him to free himself, then summoned his strength to overcome Shinkaro, using illusion magic as bait to distract him. When his plan worked, he managed to trap Shinkaro with another spell, and then finish him off with a final thunderous stun. Before he could celebrate his victory, their third teammate launched an overwhelming attack on him and realized that he was going to lose, but Leonhardt's shield saved him just in time, and Leonhardt managed to seal the match for them with one final blow and declare the Academy's victory. Tatsuya returned to the arena and was greeted by a loud cheer from the crowd. He asked Leonhardt if he was planning to steal the spotlight from him from the beginning, to which Leonhardt replied that he was suffering seriously, as the last time he suffered similar damage was when he was in a car accident 2 years ago. Mikiko was curious to know if Shinkaro's bullets were being deflected by Shinkaro's fortification magic, and was embarrassed before telling him that he was so busy attacking that he didn't have time to focus on defense, and Mikiko was shocked to realize that he had only countered Masaki's magic with his own body. When Leonhardt wanted to check Tatsuya's condition, he told him that he had a ruptured eardrum on the right side, so he had difficulty hearing with one ear. Mikiko was surprised that he couldn't hear what they were talking about all this time, so Tatsuya told him that he was currently relying on reading their lips. Then he turned to the stands to see his sister staring at him while crying, so he smiled slightly to try to tell her that he was fine. The members of the Dragon Gang sit down to discuss the misfortune of losing the team they bet on, and decide not to let the First Academy win the championship at any cost, as they will incur losses of up to $100 million, and it may cost them their lives to repay the debt. On the other hand, Tatsuya finds the weather to be favorable for the Mirage Bat competition, but at the same time he feels that it's a bad omen, even though he has no proof that anything will happen, and he tells Miyuki that he will make sure to protect her no matter what. Tatsuya predicted that their academy could win this competition based on past results, and as soon as the match started, Kiko unhesitatingly rushed towards her targets to hit them. Meanwhile, Mizuki was deliberately watching the match without her glasses on so that she could see magic auras and spirits, and not get caught up in Mary's match, as she believes she would have helped her if she had used her power to see the trap. Keiko had an issue with her controller and couldn't use magic while flying and almost lost her life, but was rescued in time, while Tatsuya kept thinking that this would create distrust of magic in her. Then he received a call from Mizuki telling him that she saw a light near Keiko's device before she fell. He realized that something was wrong and told his sister to go and prepare for her next match, promising to check her device before the start of the fight. Then he took her device and went to check it at the camp. When he put it on the device of the tournament organizing committee, he could see a strange force trying to immerse himself in the device, so he grabbed the supervisor and knocked him down in front of everyone and asked him what he had just put in Yuki's device. While he was trying to forcibly interrogate the supervisor, Chief Retsu appeared, so he had to leave the supervisor alone and apologize to him for what he had done. Retsu approached him and expressed his admiration for the game he played yesterday, and when he asked him what happened here, he told him that one of the magical devices used by his academy had been tampered with and and was able to catch the culprit. RIZZ inspected the device himself and was able to detect that something strange had been injected into it and remembered that it was a golden silkworm, the same one that was used during the Battle of the East Asian Seas. Tatsuya told him that he didn't know that such a technology existed until now, but he could see that something like a virus had been injected into the system. RIZZ then asked Tatsuya to return to the stadium and expressed his annoyance at the fact that a member of the organizing committee was involved in sabotage and advised him to use an alternative controller in such circumstances. Before he left, he expressed his desire to have a long talk with him later. When he returned to the academy camp, he found Miyuki rushing towards him after learning what had happened and realized that he was seriously angry for her. He told her that it was normal for an older brother to be angry for his younger sister and that this was the only thing that remained unchanged in his heart, and asked her not to cry and to focus on today's match. After a while, Miyuki got ready for her next match and then thought to ask Tatsuya if she could use a certain item during the fight. When she got his approval, she returned to the arena and let the rest of the competitors fly. Then, to everyone's surprise, she uses Silver's flying magic to fly higher and more balanced than the others, and ends up taking first place after the match. On the other side, a Dragon Organization spy was closely monitoring the tournament, and when he told them that Miyuki had qualified for the finals, they decided it was time to use force and thought about forcing the organizing committee to cancel the tournament by randomly attacking the crowd, even if it meant taking the lives of many of them. Then they decided to unleash weapon number 17 and let him unleash his power to save them from the penalties of losing the bet. Then they gave their henchman permission to do whatever he wanted, and when he started attacking someone, he ended up falling from a great height after the person blocked him. Then he followed him downstairs and turned out to be Officer Miraji, who suspected that 17 was an augmented human and his physical strength was not the result of magic. Then Shijuru joined them, and when 17 found himself trapped between them, he rushed towards Miraji to attack him, but he pushed him away using one of his abilities and ended up being shocked by Kyuko, and they decided to arrest him. In the evening, Tatsuya was staying in his room when Miyuki joined him. He asked her if he could do something for her, and she hesitated before telling him that she wanted him to stay in the same room with her while she rested before her next match. Tatsuya agreed to fulfill her request and accompanied her to her room and stayed by her side until she fell asleep, thinking that the Dragon Gang no longer cared about the outcome and had decided to act with unusual recklessness to sabotage their results. As he was about to leave, he found Miyuki holding his hand as she slept and didn't want to worry her. The next day, Miyuki prepared for her fateful match, and when Tatsuya asked her about her spirits, she told him that she felt renewed enthusiasm and energy and wanted to use her flying magic from the beginning of the match. And once the match started, she used the same strategy and kept her balance in the air. Tatsuya realizes that the magic was leaked to the other academies while checking Miyuki's device to make sure there was no cheating, but he doesn't care about it because he believes in Miyuki's abilities beyond anyone's imagination. And on the other hand, Miyuki was able to outperform the rest and achieve first place effortlessly. Everyone sat around celebrating Miyuki's victory and the academy's superiority in the tournament at all levels, and Erika thought that the tournament would finally end tomorrow, and everyone was sure that Katsudo would win his match. And when the girls wondered about Tatsuya's absence, Miyuki told them that he had gone to bed. Meanwhile, Tatsuya was secretly meeting Haruka in the garage after she succeeded in finding the headquarters of the Dragon Organization in Japan and gave him a map. When he asked her for the data of the parties involved with this gang, she hesitated for a moment before sending the data to him, and after he got what he wanted, he got out of the car and left. After he made sure Haruka was gone, Kyuko was waiting for him in another car. When he joined her and she asked him about Haruka, he told her that she works for public security, and although she has talent, she is still a novice, so he assigns her some side tasks. On the other side, Harunobu was meeting with RIZZ, who came to ask him about Tatsuya, whom he recruited 3 years ago, and asked him if he didn't think it was wasteful to assign someone with his talent and strength to private bodyguard duties. Harunobu said that Tatsuya's family is stronger than the 10 lords, but that's not enough, so the family has resorted to using their magicians as weapons, even if they are members of the same family. In the meantime, Tatsuya arrived at the Dragon Gang's headquarters with Kyuko and chose to attack them from the roof of a nearby building while they were discussing him. After he managed to panic them, he called them to tell them that he had come to repay the debt they had left him that day at Mount Fuji, and continued to attack them one by one, and before the sniper could aim at him, he cleared his eye by aiming at the lens of the weapon. They felt they were in trouble because of the difficulty of shooting him from this distance, and after he hacked their communication systems, he told them that they were trapped inside their conference room and could not communicate with anyone else. Tatsuya wonders if he has the authority to promise this and is surprised that he knows the name Douglas. Tatsuya tells him that he is the leader's advisor and cannot ignore what he says. Tatsuya tells him to tell him the name of their leader. He hesitates for a moment to reveal the identity of the leader, but when he realizes that his life is at stake, he tells him that his name is Richard. Although he told him everything he wanted to know, Tatsuya continued to take their lives in front of his eyes, and when he asked him why why he was going so far, he told him that they had done enough to anger him after they thought of messing with the most precious thing in his life and did not hesitate to take his life after he became useless to him. The next day, the army gathered to discuss what happened yesterday while watching Katsudo's semifinal match, and Shijuru told them that the arrest of one of the Dragon Gang's henchmen had been well received by public security. Tatsuya wonders if information about the organization's leader is worth risking a fight against one of their weapons, to which Shiguru replies that the organization was the sole supplier of the magic enhancement device, an item that should be banned from this world because its core element is made from a human brain, specifically a magician's brain. On the other side, after Katsudo's victory, Mayumi tells him that she received news at the clan meeting that they were upset that Tatsuya had defeated Masaki because that kind of result would weaken the power of the 10 masters. Katsudo realized that they might be thinking of having a competition to show off their strength in public and asked her to leave it to him. He then went to play his next match while Tatsuya and his comrades watched from the stands, and Katsudo managed to bring the victory to his team by relying on his strength. Tatsuya felt that his way of using his magic should have been more powerful, and after the tournament ended with all the academy students being honored for first place, a special celebration banquet was held for them in the evening. Tatsuya looked around, thinking that it's not over yet. Then he saw Masaki chatting with his sister and joined them to ask about his health, and Masaki told him not to worry about it. Then Masaki was curious to know if he and Miyuki were really siblings. Miyuki wonders if they don't look like siblings to him. Then Tatsuya suggests that she dance with Masaki. After they leave, Honoka walks up to him, hesitant about something, and Erika appears behind him, telling him to take charge now that she wants to dance with him. Tatsuya decides to take the initiative to offer it to her, and she is overjoyed, and they start dancing together as lovers from her point of view. And Tatsuya seems to be dancing with all the girls in his class, while Miyuki looks at him closely while she is with Masaki. After that, he sat down to catch his breath before Katsudo came up to him to talk privately, and then told him without giving any reason that he should join the 10 Masters clan, and Tatsuya quickly realized that he wanted him to marry Mayumi. Katsudo tells him that it's about defeating Masaki, and that the next leader of the clan is making a bigger impact than he thought. And before he leaves, he tells him that he shouldn't be weak for too long. Muraji and Inagaki go on a mission to apprehend suspects who entered the country illegally through a cargo ship. When they reach the harbor, they come under fire from the criminals, so Muraji uses his magic to avoid them and then rushes towards them while Inagaki covers him. After they manage to subdue the criminals, the cargo ship was about to move away, so Inagaki had to stop it with a gun, even if it meant sinking it, and after he fired his thunderous shot, Muraji jumped onto the deck and found it flooded from the inside, which frustrated him. Meanwhile, someone named Joe somehow managed to smuggle a group of mercenaries out of the harbor. A few days later, Miyuki wanted to talk to Tatsuya privately and was surprised that she was free even after becoming the new vice president of the student council. She told him that President Azusa was taking over, then asked him what he was doing, and he told her that he was reading a document about the Emerald Tablet. Miyuki noticed that he had been going through a lot of alchemy documents lately. He told her that he was trying to figure out the properties and formulas of the Philosopher's Stone, which acts as a catalyst in spells that turn ordinary metals into precious ones, and he suspected that it was being used as a tool for something else. Then he thought that if he could transform the material without resorting to other magical processes, they might discover that the Philosopher's Stone has the ability to store magic. When he remembered that she wanted to talk to him about something, she told him that Suzune was looking for him for the thesis defense of the competition, which starts next month. He went to the magic engineering prep room and found President Kazuo waiting for him. He told him that the thesis competition was a writing competition compared to the 9 Academies tournament and asked him to participate as a member of the Academy's team. Tatsuya was surprised that Kazuo thought of him to participate and told him that he had already intended to include Ki and Suzune in addition to Koharu, but unfortunately she had been feeling unwell lately, so he was chosen. When Tatsuya heard the name, he remembered that she was the student in charge of the player Keiko had tripped during the Mirage Bat match, and when he asked why they chose him, he replied that he was the perfect person to take over. When he left the office to allow Tatsuya to discuss the details with Suzune, she told him that she was the one who recommended him after rejecting all other alternatives. He felt embarrassed that the bridesmaids would not accept it, so she told him that Aizo would not accept it, but he is not suitable for the role. When he heard the name, he remembered that he was one of the members of the disciplinary committee. She told him that they don't agree on the way the competition is run. Then Ki said that Suzune will be the main writer while they do the sub-writing for a thesis and presentation. She then tells him that the topic she's thinking of discussing is the technical vulnerability of a fusion reactor to gravity control magic, and that she only has 3 weeks left to finish the thesis, so she trusts him to help her. When he agrees to join her team, she explains the details of the competition and tells him that this year's event will be held at the Yokohama International Convention Center and will require them to submit their final draft and a summary of the materials and magic used in their presentation to the Magic Union before submitting the thesis, so they must have everything completed by next Wednesday. In the evening, Tatsuya meets his friends at a coffee shop and doesn't seem excited about participating in the thesis competition. While his friends are happy about it, and Mikihiko tells him that the winning thesis will be written about in scientific journals. They were surprised when he told them that his team only had 9 days to finalize everything for the competition, but he agreed to participate in the competition because Suzune chose to discuss a topic he already knew. When they learned that the topic was something related to modifying magic devices, they put their trust in him and that he would contribute to his team's victory, while Miyuki was worried about him. When they arrived at their house, they were surprised to see a pair of shoes outside that turned out to be for Sayuri, their stepmother, who came to visit them. He asked Miyuki to go change her clothes, and when he sat down to talk to Sayuri, she expressed her annoyance at the idea that they were still upset with her, so he told her that they had no one to blame after their father married her 6 months after their mother's death, even though she was the same age as them. When he asked her what the reason for her visit was, she told him that she had come to ask him to help him in the research lab even if he had to drop out of high school. He told her that he couldn't leave his sister's side as her bodyguard, and she thought that his family could provide a replacement, but Tatsuya told her that they would have a hard time finding one. She was furious and told him that the company couldn't afford to lose someone of his caliber. He told her that he was aware that they had received so many requests for flying magic devices that it was equivalent to 20% of their quarterly revenue last year. She showed him a sample to examine and found that it was a sacred relic of the Philosopher's Stone. When he asked her where they extracted it and she remained silent, he realized that the SDF was involved and wondered if they had given her the task of doubling the stone's power. She told him that she had received this task on the recommendation of the SDF and could not refuse. He said that they should realize that it is practically impossible to double the stone. She told him that the stone has the ability to store magic according to what she was told, and that this is still a hypothesis despite the fact that they have many reliable data. She then added that they would be able to analyze the stone with its magic without causing any damage. He told her that there was no guarantee that the stone would be doubled using his magic, and then gave her the choice of sending a sample to the 3rd department or leaving it here. Afterward, Miyuki joined him. He told her he was going out for a while and asked her to wait for him as he intended to protect a woman who lacked the skill to deal with danger. And when he caught up with her, he found a group of mercenaries chasing her. He used the force to stop them and was able to save her before she was kidnapped. Suddenly, he was hit by an unidentified bullet. He hid behind her vehicle and was able to heal himself, then found a 3rd person who took the criminals and ran away with them. Using his sensing ability, he was able to locate the sniper who shot him and did not hesitate to take his life. When he returned home, he told Harunobu what had happened and that the sniper had fearsome skills despite being easy to find. Harunobu thought that there are few organizations that can get a high-level sniper. Then he received a report that a car was found near his area with the same description and decided to start arresting them to find out which organization they work for. Tatsuya sat for a while before Miyuki brought him coffee. He noticed that she was wearing a new apron, blushed and told him she wanted to buy one. He admired her, and when she asked him what Sayuri wanted, he told her briefly that she wanted him to help her with her work, but it seemed curious to him. He then showed her the box in which he kept the Philosopher's Stone specimen. Miyuki became concerned and wondered why a woman like her would have such an item, and he told her that they had received a request from the government to double it even though they knew it was impossible. Then he thought that it was worth the risk if this thing actually has the ability to store magic, as they will be able to create many magic weapons and distribute them to the troops. However, he does not care about using it as a weapon, but rather he wants to use its storage of magic to facilitate the activation of spells manually. On the other hand, the gang succeeds in hacking into the Mage Union's website, and when their leader learns that the mission to steal the sample failed, he tells them to make sure that next time they will make sure to get it at all costs because it will contribute to the military strength of their Asian alliance. A few days later, Tatsuya goes to the Academy's library and runs into Mayumi. He tells her that he has come to gather information about the thesis, and she remembers that he is part of the Suzune team that will be discussing an important topic this year. She told him that for Suzune, it's more than winning and losing, so everyone trusts him. He wondered why she chose the topic, and she told him that the goal is to raise the social status of magicians by turning magic into an economic factor, and then they will be free from people treating them as armed human beings, according to her. Tatsuya realized that he and Suzune shared the same point of view, which made the thesis interesting to him. Mayumi was curious to ask him if Suzune was the kind of woman he liked, and while she was deliberately getting closer to him, she felt frustrated that he didn't feel aroused by her. He tells her that he's not turned on by good looks, and that he wouldn't lay a finger on a girl in front of a surveillance camera, and Mayumi is surprised to find that there are several around them. In the evening, Tatsuya was surprised that his computer was hacked while he was working, and had to shut it down without being able to identify the source of the attack, and when he told Haruka about it, she lamented that she couldn't trace them through the network. He asks her to tell him what she knows about the organization responsible for buying and selling secret magic documents, and she says all she can tell him is that since the end of last month, there have been several illegal entries into Yokohama and Yokosuka. He asked Kei if he had been hacked while working on his thesis and told him that he suspected that someone was after the magic documents. Kei told him that he had no idea who it was and suggested that they tell Suzune what had happened. To their surprise, Mary and Kanon burst into the room. Mary tells them that she wants to talk to them about security during the thesis competition and tells Tatsuya that the Magic Federation plans to hire professionals to secure the event. Then she thought about assigning a bodyguard to each member of the Academy's research team, as well as guards for the resources that will be used to avoid being targeted by spies. She decided to assign Takeaki and Hanzo to guard Suzune, while Kanon chose to protect her boyfriend Ki, and Tatsuya told her that he didn't need bodyguards. In the evening, Tatsuya was heading out of a store when he realized he was being watched. When Kanon and Ki joined him, he told them that someone was spying on them, and Kanon soon spotted a mysterious girl trying to escape after being discovered. As she approached her, the spy used a light capsule to distract her and then tried to use it to escape on her bike, but Ki prevented the bike from moving with his magic, so she had to use a speed booster to evade him and narrowly escaped, and soon she ended up being taken away in a carriage after she caused the bike to crash. After that, the secret organization learned about what happened, and the leader Chen wondered if he could trust this girl. He then asked his followers about the location of the sample, and they told him that her whereabouts were still unknown to them, and when he asked them about the house that Sayuri visited, he learned that it was the house of her stepchildren. After getting information about Tatsuya and his sister, he realizes that he is the target of his local associate's revenge. He decides to prioritize the academy as a target and assigns a number of his followers to watch them, then asks Commander Liu to take over the field and eliminate anyone who gets in his way. The next day, Tatsuya meets with his comrades at the academy and finds that Mizuki feels that someone has been staring at them in a disturbing way since morning, as if he is watching them from the shadows, even though he is not targeting her personally. Makiko then said that he too had noticed that the spirits were suffering from an agitated state on campus and that there was unnatural movement around, and Tatsuya realized that someone was targeting a student or something inside the academy. Meanwhile, Miraji and Inagaki were walking around, talking about the mission to catch foreigners who entered the country illegally and that they hadn't found any eyewitnesses yet. Miraji then said that he believes there are some eyewitnesses, but they refused to talk. Inagaki soon realized that he might resort to illegal methods to force them to talk, so Miraji told him that he doesn't intend to do that, but that doesn't stop him from going to visit them in their own lair. They end up standing outside a bar, and Miraji tells him that this is the den of the eyewitnesses, and the owner of the bar is the one who knows everything and knows the information broker. On the other side, Tatsuya wanders around with his companions until they decide to take a break at a nearby cafe, and on the other side, someone is watching them behind the walls. When Leonhardt learns that the competition will be held in Yokohama, he tells his friends that it will be held near his parents' hometown, where they live near the Yamit Highlands and have a cafe called Roder Wald. Miraji and Inagaki, on the other hand, were inside the cafe and noticed a woman sitting at a distance from them, and were surprised when she approached them and asked Miraji when he was going to talk to her, who turned out to be Kyuko. Erika then pretended to go to the restroom and went outside the cafe to ask the person spying on them if he wouldn't mind spending some time with her. He tried to play dumb and told her not to try to provoke the elderly and warned her not to wander around empty streets like this at night. But then Leonhardt appeared behind him, getting ready to kick his Erika pulls out her gun and asks him why he's been following them since they left the academy. The spy tries to pretend he's being robbed and screams to turn the tables on them. Leonhardt told him that his trick wouldn't work because he used a magical barrier around them and no one would be able to get near them. Erika said that he would have to face them if he wanted to escape, so he took the initiative to attack her, and despite his speed, she was able to avoid him. When Leonhardt tried to support her, he received a severe beating on his hand and couldn't keep up with him, but in the end he managed to knock him down and thought that there was no way a normal human could be that strong. He told the spy that they had no intention of harming him and only wanted to know why he was following them, so he gave in and told them that he was martial and not affiliated with any government organization, nor was he their enemy, as his job was to monitor the students of the Magic Academy to make sure that advanced technology did not fall into the wrong hands. As he spoke to them, he pointed his gun at them before they realized it and told them that the Academy is the target of Eastern spies, especially magic engineers, then ordered them to remove the barrier so that he could leave without causing trouble. After Makiko removed his barrier, he told them to tell their friends to be careful and not to think they are safe even if they are inside the academy, and disappeared after throwing a gas grenade in front of them. Miraji wondered why Kyuko was in the cafe, and she told him that she had come on business. When she asked him the same question, he couldn't come up with an excuse, so she approached him and whispered that she wanted him to help her with something. She then left the cafe, got into her car, and started checking her surveillance systems, while Marshall ran away as fast as he could until he found himself lost. Then he was surprised when Lou appeared in front of him, and when he felt danger, he pointed his gun at him, but Liu broke his hand and ended up dead, then burned his body before leaving so that no one could recognize him after his failed mission. A few days later, the student council successfully operates a thermal plasma device in the academy's outdoor courtyard. Sayaka notices a mysterious girl among the students watching the experiment who is writing something down and then quickly leaves, and Sayaka follows her to investigate. The chase between them continued for some time before the mysterious girl felt exhausted and had to stop. When Sayaka asked her who she was, she told her that she was called Chiaki. Then Sayaka noticed that she had a walkie-talkie in her hands, and Chiaki tried to hide it, but she told her that it would not work because she had worked for spies in the past. Chiaki said that she didn't cooperate with them because she wanted something in return for her help, and when Sayaka's comrades tried to approach her, she fired tear gas at them so that she could escape. But she ended up losing consciousness after Leonhardt attacked her and knocked her to the ground, and then got confused because he overdid it. When they took her to the clinic, Dr. Ashoka told them that she would wake up soon, so Kanon asked her to call her as soon as she woke up. When she left the clinic and went to the courtyard, she found the others arguing about something. Tatsuya told her that Izo was upset that Erika and Leonhardt were hanging around, so she went to Izo to try to convince him that he didn't need to stop the reserve students from observing the tests, and asked him to rely on her as a guard to handle the riot and discipline. She then asked Erika and Leonhardt to leave so that they wouldn't get into more trouble, so they left quietly, and when Kanon got a phone message, she left immediately, followed by Ki, while Erika asked Leonhardt to go somewhere with her since he was free for the rest of the day. Kanon and Ki then went to see Chiaki, who tried to escape, but Ashoka caught her and started questioning her about the information she was gathering. Chiaki told her that she was trying to rewrite the program herself and disable the magic device associated with the show. Kanon was surprised that she did it out of hatred and didn't care that she might get fired. She told her that she would do anything to get her revenge on Tatsuya. Ki realized that she was Koharu's younger sister and tried to convince her that it wasn't Tatsuya's fault that her older sister ended up like this. She insisted that it was his fault for making her sister feel responsible for the accident at the tournament, and that he knew it would happen because of who he really is, but he just watched. Asuka decided to send her to the hospital to continue her treatment and asked them to stop the interrogation. On the other side, Leonhardt and Erika were silent until she told him how she felt that Chiaki was just a distraction for something bigger that was going to happen. She continued to think about what they should do next until she decided that they should start a counterattack against their targets, even though they still don't know many things about them. She then told Leonhardt that even though he is a good fighter, he doesn't have a hidden trick to win. He told her that he didn't have a special way to eliminate his opponents because he didn't intend to do it before, so she told him that he should be prepared from now on that he might have to fight life and death battles, and decided to teach him a special move that suits him. In the evening, Tatsuya and his companions were walking around after school talking about Chiaki. He suggested that they leave her alone even though she was targeting him, and when Ki suggested that they turn to her older sister to try to convince her to give up the idea of revenge, he refused, thinking that Koharu had nothing to do with what happened from her sister, and then added that Chiaki was not the only one who tried to sneak into this place recently. In the meantime, Chen told Chief Joe that Chiaki's mission had failed, but he didn't care too much because they hadn't revealed their true identities to her, and said that he would assess the situation himself in the coming days. Tatsuya and his companions then went to dinner at the restaurant. Onoka was shocked to learn that Erika and Leonhardt were romantically involved with each other, but the others told her that they hadn't noticed anything about it, and when they started imagining what they were doing together at the moment, they felt awkward. Tatsuya guessed that they might be practicing fighting together, and Erika would be able to knock Leonhardt down easily. Meanwhile, Erika was taking a shower after training, while Leonhardt entered the bathroom thinking no one was in there and ended up seeing Erika completely naked in front of him, which made her nervous and she slapped him and kicked him out of the bathroom. The next day, Leonhardt continued practicing with her hands still on his face, and whenever he failed to master the move, she would hit him on the head. He felt angry, but soon realized that she probably felt like beating someone as weak as him. She decided to take a break for a while and brought him a drink, then told him that he was able to master the movement while wearing the cloak heroically, and he told her that the situation was different back then because the cloak contained many augmentations. She thought about consulting Tatsuya about it, but he refused to get into trouble and decided to keep trying until he mastered the skill. Meanwhile, Katsudo was practicing at the academy to hone his skills, and none of his classmates could lay a finger on him. Mayumi and Mary were watching his training on the monitor, and Mayumi thought it might cause the students to lose their self-confidence. At that moment, Katsudo defeated 7 people, leaving only Makiko, who tried to keep his nerves in check, and when Katsudo started looking for him, he used his magic to drop him into a hole and used his distraction to run away, while Katsudo used his protective armor to prevent him from falling and found his ability interesting. In the evening, the students prepared food for the students practicing for the thesis competition, and everyone sat down to eat and chat while Makiko sat alone until Mizuki joined him. Then they sat and ate together in silence, and when his plate was empty, She wanted to put more for him, but she soon felt embarrassed after she accidentally grabbed his hand while taking his plate, and when she panicked and wanted to leave, he tried to grab her, but he ended up gripping her breast, which made things worse. She tries to get away from him, but she stumbles and falls in the middle of the square. She feels ashamed and decides to leave, but Mikiko can't leave her alone and tries to follow her, and in the meantime, he accidentally runs into a mysterious person who passes by him. The next day, Tatsuya and Miyuki go to train at Yakumo Temple, and upon learning that Tatsuya has a rare object in his possession, he advises him to return it to its owners as soon as possible and not to lose his temper when facing any enemy. After they left the temple, Tatsuya felt that they were being followed and Miyuki saw a Raiden flying directly above them. Tatsuya thought that he should avoid using his power for the time being and tried to escape as fast as he could. On the other side, the Academy's networks were hacked and Ushiyama ordered his followers to try to stop the hack and locate its source, but when Tatsuya arrived, he told them to keep watching, and when Ushiyama questioned why they had come, he told him that he wanted to keep an item of his in the lab, then realized that the Raiden was still watching him and destroyed it with his power without touching it. Meanwhile, Chen, knowing that Tatsuya has the sample, orders his followers to cut off the communications of the lab networks they hacked, thinking that he might find a way to collect data in case Tatsuya decides to leave the sample in the lab, and then orders Lu to assassinate Chiaki before the boss finds it. Tatsuya decides to return to the student council room, and when he gets there, he finds the pixie robot greeting him and asks her to stand by via stop mode. After some time, Tatsuya felt exhausted from hard work, and when he got up, he was surprised by dizziness and smelled the smell of sleeping gas. Then he found Pixie giving him a mask to wear after the circulation system malfunctioned, so he asked her to turn on the ventilation system to prevent a fire inside the room and ordered her to monitor the room and record what was happening in it. A mysterious person then enters the room and, finding Tatsuya asleep, uses a device to obtain information, but he is quickly exposed by Kanon, and it turns out that Izo is working as a spy for an organization and is stealing information through a hacking device. Izo tries to explain that he was providing a support system for the lab, but is shocked to find Tatsuya standing behind him after pretending to be asleep and realizing that the gas didn't work on him. He tries to attack Kanon, but ends up falling unconscious after she uses her power against him. After that, Mary summoned Natsugu to investigate a matter at the academy. On the other side, Joe is heading to Chiaki's hospital room with a bouquet of flowers and noticed Lu sneaking into the same room, so he sounded the emergency siren to disable him. Natsugu realizes that the alarm was sounded from the 4th floor, the same floor where Chiaki is staying, and rushes there. He finds Lu trying to break down the door, and as soon as Lu notices his presence, he attacks him. Natsugu tried to counterattack him, but it was difficult due to Lu's strength, who continued to attack him like a raging bull until Natsugu was able to find an opening to inflict serious damage on him, and then he found himself trapped between him and Mary, who used her magic to tear him apart. Lu tries to run away and ends up falling from the 4th floor. He gathers his strength to continue running out of the hospital, and when Mary asks who he is, he tells her that he is a magician for the Asian Alliance Special Operations Forces. Meanwhile, Tatsuya informs Kyuko of Izo's arrest and sends her the recording that Pixie made, saying that he is finishing the project he was assigned to, and after she hangs up, she finds her colleague Toshikazu waiting for her outside the car. When he asks what Tatsuya told her, she says that she is about to start hunting the fox that is trying to take them down and wants him to help her catch him. On the other hand, Chen orders the assassination of Izo after realizing that he has been exposed and instructs Lu to get rid of him and postpone the assassination of Chiaki. The next day, Tatsuya wanted to meet Izo for questioning, but Kanon refused to let him enter the penal center without permission from the disciplinary committee or the student council, so he told her that he would not accept leaving without meeting him. She tells him that she won't let him see him to ensure that he doesn't cause any trouble, and that she believes that trouble is always looking for him. Mary suggests that he accompany her tomorrow as she plans to visit him with Mayumi. In the meantime, Joe went to visit Chiaki, and when she asked him how he entered the room, he told her that he used a special move, and she thought he used magic, but he told her that humans can do miracles without magic, and then he began to influence her with the flowers he had in his possession and convinced her not to feel frustrated by her failure to carry out the mission and to forget about it. The next day, Tatsuya went to visit Izo with Mary and Mayumi. When he saw Mary, Izo panicked and told him that she had come to interrogate him, and then used her magic to control his mind through scent. Izo then confesses that he intended to copy the data of the experimental machine. He then goes through Tatsuya's personal belongings because he was after the sample in his possession. During the interrogation, they notice sirens sounding, and Tatsuya realizes that there is an intruder. Mary asks Tatsuya to protect Mayumi, and then steps forward to confront Lu. As he rushes towards her, Mayumi uses her powers to surprise him, but takes no damage, and it's 2 against 1. He retreated a little, then used the power of the wind to avoid Mayumi's spells, then passed Mary and rushed towards them. Tatsuya blocked him with a suspicious magical power that caused caused him serious damage, and then the two girls continued to beat him with various spells until the three of them succeeded in taking him down. In the evening, Tatsuya called Kyuko to report Lu's capture, and she told him that they had succeeded in capturing the entire spy unit, and when he asked her where the information about the location of the sample came from, she told him that it was leaked by the military, which led to the targeting of every research organization that received payments from the military. Before ending the call, she told him to try his best for the thesis competition in 2 days. Tatsuya sat relaxed, then Miyuki entered the room, and when she got too close to him, she began to feel confused and almost kissed him, but he opened his eyes just in time. Her hand faltered and almost fell on him, but he caught her, so she apologized to him and ran out of the room, and when she returned to her room, she found him coming to check on her, and when he entered her room, he found her shedding tears, so he wiped her eyes and apologized for worrying her and promised that he would always be fine. Then he turned back, and Miyuki was overjoyed that he cared about her feelings so much. A few days later, Chen meets with Joe to tell him that he lost his close aide Lu after he was captured and asks him to help him get him back because their country needs soldiers like him. Joe tells him that he will be transferred to the foreigner prison in Yokosuka tomorrow, and this is their chance to save him. He then added that he would like to use certain magic in Chinatown and asked him to stay out of the city as much as possible so that he wouldn't get hurt. Chen agreed to fulfill his request and warned that it would be inevitable to fight directly with their enemies to target more than one side at the same time. The next day, Erika asks when Tatsuya will be going to the convention center tomorrow, and he tells her that he plans to get there an hour before the competition starts and that the Academy's experimental device will be transported by a company. Leonhardt asks him to let them guard the device while it's being transported to the center, and when Tatsuya asks why they want to bother, he tells him that he doesn't want to feel like his training with Erika was in vain. Tatsuya thinks that he may need their help since the competition may be targeted, but tells his friends that cheering for the team in the crowd will be enough and they don't have to worry about security issues. Meanwhile, Suzune went to visit Chiaki and told her directly that her style would not draw Tatsuya's attention to her, nor would she be able to arouse animosity or hatred against him because he is an arrogant person who doesn't care about anything around him. Chiaki gets frustrated before Suzune continues that Tatsuya managed to get the highest grades in the first semester exams despite being a reserve student and tells her that she is the one who ranks second below him. She then approached her and told her that she thought she had the potential to surpass Tatsuya in magic engineering after realizing that he wasn't good enough with the equipment, and before she left, she asked her to attend the competition tomorrow. In the evening, Kyuko had a date with Toshikazu after he decided to express his gratitude to her for helping him solve the case by taking her out for a drink at a fancy place and told him that she wouldn't mind accompanying him tomorrow if he was free. She told him that they would meet early tomorrow so that they could attend the thesis competition, as she would like to encourage one of the people participating in the competition as she knew him personally and advised him to be well armed just in case. The next day, attendees began arriving at the International Convention Center before the start of the competition. Haruka photographed Kyuko as she arrived, while Kyuko went to Tatsuya and Miyuki's room to visit them. She tells them that she's finished making Tatsuya's mobile suit and that someone will bring it to him tonight. She gives him a memory card and tells him to take a look inside. She tells him that they might be in for a fight. She tells Miyuki that if anything happens, she'll be counting on her. After a while, the audience began to take their seats in the auditorium, where Erika and her friends noticed Toshikazu standing like an idiot and pointing at them. On the other side, Tatsuya and Miyuki met Masaki and Hagan in the lobby. Masaki tells them that he joined the joint security system to secure the competition. Miyuki tells him that she's counting on them, and as Tatsuya walks by, Masaki tells him that he can't wait to face him again. Tatsuya wonders where Leonhardt is, and Erika tells him to stop associating her with the boy, as she has nothing to do with him and has only added skills to him. She then looks to the front rows and tells him that Mizuki and Mikiko are sitting there and acting like lovers. Meanwhile, Haruka was sipping her coffee when Kyuko approached her table to sit with her and then expressed that she felt awkward when someone deliberately stared at her, and Haruka realized that she felt Kyuko watching her. When she asked her what she was going to talk about, Kyuko told her that she was being loyal to her mission and that they should respect each other's boundaries, and in return, she would not be reprimanded by her superiors, and then quietly left. Haruka realized that this was a direct warning to her and that there was something unrelated to Tatsuya that she was trying to cover up. Kyuko is surprised to learn that Lu escaped while being transported to the prison after the vehicle was attacked on its way to Yokosuka. On the other hand, Katsudo learns that Aizo was subjected to some kind of mind control according to what Hanzu and Taikeki told him, and they expect the organization targeting the contest to take more extreme measures. He asked them if there was anything suspicious about the current situation. Hanzo told him that he came here last week to inspect the place and noticed that there were many foreigners in the city, so he ordered them to wear bulletproof vests and instructed them to carefully monitor the perimeter of the center. Suzune stood on the stage and began to explain her thesis in front of everyone, while Tatsuya was doing his job of presenting and explaining explaining the information backstage, while Joe kept a close eye on the center. After Suzune finished explaining, a 10-minute break was announced. Tatsuya heard Shinkaru's voice admiring his inventions and his participation in this year's thesis competition and vowing to defeat him next time. A large truck loaded with flammable materials crashes through the gate of the International Convention Center, and after coming within a short distance of the building, it completely explodes. Toshikazu decides to go to the scene to check it out and tells Kyuko to stay put. After a while, the police arrived at the convention center and were surprised by missiles fired at them from docked ships disguised as cargo ships. Toshikazu asked his father to request military support from the SDF and to send his personal belongings to Erika. On the other side, Tatsuya meets his sister and thinks that the attack might be the work of a foreign organization. Before he knows it, a group of armed men burst into the hall, pointing their guns at everyone and ordering them to remove their magic devices. When Tatsuya saw someone approaching him to take his device, he used his ability to determine the exact number of intruders. He decided to approach one of the intruders, and when he started shooting at him, Tatsuya was able to stop him and control the bullets. The intruder was furious and decided to engage him up close. Tatsuya cut off his arm without using a weapon. They realized how strong he was, and the others had the confidence to teach them a lesson. The intruders ended up tied up after the guards successfully dealt with them. Tatsuya then met with his comrades and told them that there was a group of guards blocking the intruders at the front entrance and that they should be eliminated even if they intended to escape. Before he left, Shinkaru stopped him to ask about the technique he had just used against the intruders, which was a top-secret technique developed by a military major. Tatsuya realizes that there is a misunderstanding due to his lack of knowledge and decides to use it to his advantage. He tells him that there is nothing wrong with him being able to use such a technique and that he doesn't have time to discuss it right now, and leaves without hearing his response. Meanwhile, the security forces were in direct confrontation with the intruders to try to protect the center, causing chaos and panic for the citizens, while Azusa was sitting in her seat, scared and unable to do anything even though she is the president of the student council and is supposed to hold herself together and give confidence to everyone, which is what Mayumi tried to tell her. Then she asked her to use her magic to relieve the panic of everyone in the hall and promised her that she would take responsibility for protecting everyone here. Azusa became confident and took out her necklace to use a bow-shaped magic and then released a wave of energy that caused everyone to relax and calm their nerves. Mayumi then began to address them, explaining that the city was being attacked by an unknown ship containing a group of terrorists and that they should head towards a ground tunnel that connects the hall to a shelter. Then she added that a rescue ship is coming to Mizuho Pier soon, leaving them with two options: go to the underground tunnel or escape to Mizuho. Then the guards began to organize everyone's exit from the hall, and then she turned to Azusa and told her that she would leave everyone under her care as the current president. On the other side, Tatsuya and his companions were watching the situation, and Leonhardt almost revealed himself, but Leonhardt grabbed him and pulled him back again and told him that the enemy was using anti-magic bullets, then asked Miyuki to use her power to block the bullets. He then grabbed her hand to make her see the exact location of the enemy through the power of his sensors, at which point she used ice magic to freeze their weapons, giving Tatsuya and the others the opportunity to rush towards them and attack them directly, and the intruders had no choice but to flee out of the center. Once the center was safe, Tatsuya decided to get more information because he felt that something more dangerous was about to happen. Shizuku suggested that he use the VIP conference room and she would help him get inside. When they get to the room, the city outside is in chaos, and Tatsuya, looking at the map, thinks that they will end up being arrested if they choose to stay inside the center for too long, and there is no way to escape, making the shelter tunnel the safest solution. He then tells them that they will go to the shelter but through the roof because someone is waiting for them down the tunnel. But before they can leave, Tatsuya decides to destroy all the experimental devices inside the center. When they went to the storage room, he was surprised to see the student council members inside, and they told him that they were deleting the data to prevent it from being stolen. Then Katsudo and his followers joined them, and Tatsuya told them to head to the tunnel because a group of intruders will target the rest, which means a possible underground battle. Katsudo assigns Hanzu and Midori to protect those on their way to the tunnel, while he takes another tour of the place to make sure there are no other intruders. After everyone is done with the experimental devices, they meet to discuss the next step. Mayumi thought that those responsible for the attack might be targeting the Magic Union headquarters to go after the database there, and told them that the rescue ship would arrive in 10 minutes, though it's not big enough to contain so many people. While they were talking, Tatsuya sensed a truck about to crash into the center, and to everyone's surprise, he aimed his weapon at a wall and managed to wipe out the truck, causing severe damage to the people inside. Katsudo, on the other hand, went outside and found the aftermath of the truck's explosion and was surprised to see a bunch of missiles launched at him at once, but he managed to destroy them using a high-frequency sound wave, and then found the vehicle settling in front of him, and Shijuru got out to introduce himself as the commander of the 101st Self-Defense Force Battalion, SDF Battalion. Harunobu and Kyuko joined Tatsuya and the others, and his true identity identity as an undercover officer is revealed. Harunobu tells him that they have been given a separate mission in the midst of these events, which is to prepare and give top priority to concealing Tatsuya's true identity. Shigeru tells him that his mobile suit is ready in the trailer, so he goes to check it out and tells the others to start evacuating the shelter. But before he leaves, Miyuki approaches him and kisses his forehead after he kneels in front of her, and then everyone is surprised by the tremendous power flowing from them, and it turns out that it freed Tatsuya from his bonds and told him to unleash his power if he needs to. Hanzo and Midori manage to deal with the intruders who block their way to the shelter and make way for the students and civilians, while Katsudo asks Kyuko to borrow a car to drive him to the Magic Union headquarters because he has some responsibilities to fulfill as a member of the Ten Masters clan, and she orders her followers to accompany him. When the students reach the tunnel, Azusa rushes to the entrance and notices a UFO hovering over the tunnel. Soon they are hit by a thunderous attack that destroys the tunnel, and Master Kazuo tries to use his power to preserve what's left and allow the rest to enter the shelter. In the meantime, the others were on their way to Mizuho Station, but two fighting robots appeared in front of them. Before they could attack, Miyuki used her power to freeze them, while Mayumi used her abilities to get rid of them immediately. Mikihiko used his magic to check the tunnel and found that it had been completely destroyed. Mikihiko used his magic to check the rest and told them that everyone was fine after they were able to enter the shelter, but that they would not be able to reach them after the tunnel was destroyed. Mayumi and Shizuku decide to use their family's airplanes to help transport the rest to a safe place by air. When Kyuko considers leaving some of her followers with them, Toshikazu joins them and tells her that they will stay to eliminate external enemies to make it easier for the police to protect civilians, and after Kyuko leaves, he gives his sister Erika her new weapon. Meanwhile, Tatsuya puts on his new suit, which has so many features and functions that he realizes it has more functionality than his own design, and flies high to check the airspace. Then he came across an airplane with a camera on its way towards him, so he flew higher and waited for the right moment to disable the camera, causing the enemies to lose contact with the plane. And on the other side, Masaki and Shinkuru were able to eliminate the intruders on their side. When Shinkuru found a bus waiting for them, Masaki told him that he intended to go to the Magic Union to support his fellow magicians by joining a volunteer army. When Shinkuru wondered why, and if he was worried about his colleagues, he remembered that he almost threw up from nervousness when he first set foot on the battlefield. Then he approached Shinkuru and told him that protecting the country was his responsibility as a member of the Ten Lords clan, and that he couldn't run away. Shinkuru told him that he wouldn't let him go alone and would like to accompany him, but Masaki asked him to lead the others to a safe place if he wanted to help him, and left on his way. Suzune then finds that they will have to wait about 20 minutes and defend the civilians and the landing ground until the helicopters arrive. Mikihiko uses his power to sense the presence of those around him and finds a group of robots coming towards them, and everyone begins to join forces to eliminate them and defend the city. On the other side, Tatsuya met his colleague Miraji, who gave him a small box that was attached to the enemy tank and told him that it looked like a magic booster, and then he remembered that it was the same device that the Dragon Guild was working on to enhance their powers. Then Miraji told him that they would have to head towards Mizuho Station to help evacuate the civilians. By the time the rest of them were able to take care of the robots, they were able to hold the area until the helicopters arrived. Just when they thought it was safe to land, a wave of flying insects prevented the helicopter from landing, but Tatsuya and his colleagues soon arrived and were able to drive them away and evacuate the area. Within minutes, Tatsuya managed to secure an escape route for the civilians and his companions to safety. He noticed one of the intruders holding a rocket launcher and pointing it at the helicopters, took his own life before firing the rocket, and then flew away. Near the headquarters of the Magic Union, the situation was very chaotic due to the intruders scattered throughout the area until Katsudo arrived. When the mages wanted to retreat to regroup, he refused and ordered them to continue attacking at once. On the other side, Masaki noticed that someone was using a ghost spell to summon monsters out of nowhere, and when he used his power to reveal the field of vision around him, his enemies began to collapse from suffocation, and Masaki was able to find the spellcaster and tear his body apart before he escaped. After that, Miyuki and the others boarded Mayumi's helicopter, and everyone was safe from monsters and intruders. When the guards lowered their defenses, they were surprised when a group of intruders appeared in front of them and did not hesitate to fire a hail of bullets at them. They rushed to each other's defense, causing Takeaki and Ki to suffer heavy damage. Miyuki returned to them and used her magic to freeze the intruders, while Tatsuya reached them and used his power to restore the bodies of his injured comrades and successfully healed them, then hugged his sister and praised her before flying away. A battalion of enemy tanks and robots arrive in the city to reinforce their strength, but they are quickly attacked by Tatsuya and his team, and when his teammates are injured, he heals them with the power of his weapon, giving them an advantage. In a matter of seconds, Tatsuya was able to single-handedly hold off the reinforcements and annihilate a large number of them, while Katsudo and his followers were able to hold off their enemies and force them to retreat. Masaki then arrived at the Chinatown area and ordered the people inside to open the doors, or they would be considered considered allied with the intruders. When they opened them, he found that the intruders had already been caught by Chief Joe and his men and told him that he had nothing to do with the intruders and expressed his willingness to cooperate with them, but Masaki found nothing suspicious about him. Meanwhile, Takeyuki couldn't understand what had happened to him a few minutes earlier and wondered if it was a hallucination somehow, but Kei told him that they were already on the verge of death, and when Mary wondered what spell Tatsuya had used, Miyuki told her that it wasn't a healing spell, but a regrowth spell. I then added that the nature of the spell is to go back in time 24 hours to create a complete copy of the injured person's body before he was injured, which helps the person to return to his former self again, and that the power is not limited to living beings, but he can restore the body of a god if necessary. I told them that because of this type of magic, Tatsuya is unable to draw other types of magic freely because it takes up so much of his body space, and they all realized that this is the reason for his lack of use of magic. When Kanon asked her why he was so secretive about his power, she told them that he had already paid a high price for the spell. She then added that he has to receive all of the injured person's information in order to regrow and heal their body, including the pain and suffering they feel, and he feels it all doubly, as he felt 150 times the pain that Takeyuki felt in 30 seconds in just 2 milliseconds, and she wondered if they still wanted her brother to use this power for others. In the meantime, Chen decides to use Plan B to push Lu into the battlefield and tells him to forget about revenge and focus on their mission. As they head towards the Magic Union, Mizuki senses a monster aura approaching the building. Mikihiko used his power and was shocked to see Lu rushing towards the guards in an attempt to break into the Magic Union, but none of them were able to harm him now that he was more powerful, so Mary decided to take care of him themselves before he broke into the headquarters. When he attacked Mary, he ended up surrounded by all of them, and they began to launch attacks on him, but he was able to fight them off and take them down one by one until Mayumi managed to inflict overwhelming damage on him after some of her magic seeped into his internal organs. Chen was able to get into the Magic Union office after using Lu as bait, and when he found Miyuki waiting for him, he was surprised that his spells didn't affect her. She told him that a witch is supporting her and has the ability to see the secrets, and then expressed her desire to erase him from existence since he is the one who was constantly haunting her brother. As she began to use her magic, Chen felt his body gradually freeze until he was unable to move and turned into an ice statue without warning. On the other side, Tatsuya and his team continued to take down the Asian Alliance army with everything they had. As they began to flee with their ship, Miraji received an order not to attack the ship directly as it was equipped with hydrazine fuel batteries, which would endanger all marine life if it was damaged. Harunbu decides to release the third eye seal and gives Shigeru a card to open a briefcase containing a unique sniper weapon. Harunbu then instructs Tatsuya to destroy the ship and used his ability to locate it. After finding it, he aimed his rifle in the same direction and succeeded in hitting them with a single shot while they thought they had managed to retreat with minimal casualties. Tatsuya wondered if there was a possibility of a tsunami when the ship exploded or sank, and they told him not to worry about it because they deliberately sank it as far away as possible. Then Kyuko received a report that the Asian Alliance was meeting at the Shanghai seaport. Tatsuya and the rest of the soldiers got ready to head to the Jujutsu base to take over there. On the other side, Miyuki was at home in the middle of a call with her Aunt Maya and refused to tell her details about Tatsuya, telling her only that he had not returned home because he was busy with academy business, and after she ended the call she wished that Tatsuya was really okay. In the meantime, Harunbu met with all the soldiers to make a plan to target the Asian Alliance and told them that a bitter battle awaited them and that they would need an independent battalion of mages to deploy at a gradual level around the harbor and take care of annihilating the enemy's fleet. Tatsuya then prepared to use the rifle again to take out the Asian Alliance fleet, and when he located the ships via satellite, he was able to fire a thunderous shot that created a nuclear-like explosion in the fleet, resulting in Japan's victory in the Great War by the high-ranking officer Tatsuya, or rather Silver.